Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
All right, I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting of October 19, 2007 to order. Have a roll call, please.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mrs. Frankel?
Present.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mrs. Piella?
Here.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Here.
Mr. Spindell?
Present.
Mrs. Wallace?
Here.
And Mr. Banta.
Here, would you join me in the flag salute? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fair Law Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof, distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and the Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, time, and place thereof, was distributed on September 5th, 2017. Items to be discussed during the closed work session of the regular monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations and/or grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Before we get into regular action items, I'd like to introduce Bruce Young. He's the president of the Bergen County School Boards Association, and he wanted to come introduce himself. He's making the rounds of every Board of Education in the county.
Yes,
And-
which is 77 districts.
And we're pleased to have him.
Been to
and-
20 so far. And I must say, you have a great crowd here this evening.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's good. President Banta, I want to thank you for inviting me today. As you know, I am the new president of the Bergen County School Boards Association. Michael is on my executive board. He's doing a great job. So what I've done is I've given you all my cards. I'm looking for ideas, recommendations, anything that you would like to see as we move forward with the Bergen County School Boards Association. One thing I got out of Fort Lee was they complained about the legislative meeting that we have every year. They said we don't get enough time to speak to our state legislators because it seems school board says, how about you introduce yourself and tell us all about you? And then by the time they're done,
Yes.
there's nobody to talk to anymore because time is already run out. What I'm doing this year is I'm going to have a joint meeting between Passaic and Bergen, because as you know, a lot of our legislators here in Bergen also represent Passaic. We did this last year. We got about 12 different legislators. We are going to give them the questions ahead of time, so you guys will be getting a letter from me asking what questions you would want to ask of them. We will give it to them ahead of time, and they answer the questions and only answer the questions. That's it. If we have a Democrat and a Republican there, and we'll let both of them speak on that, on one particular question. So that's what we're looking to do there.
great.
Our meeting for that will be coming up shortly in the advocacy meeting was going to be at Maggiano's. It's going to be March 29th. So I expect a good turnout. I think the first time in Bergen County history, we normally have 3 sections of Maggiano's. This last county meeting, we opened up all 4. So we're looking to pack the place and get more people there. January 31st, we're going to have a clinic, small group discussions, and that's going to be at Glen Rock High School. We're going to bring back the new board member orientation. It seemed to work very well with all our new board members in Bergen County. I'm also going to have a leadership class as well for anybody who wants to be a leader or who is a leader, whether you are a board president or not, want to be. We are going to have that as well. And then, of course, we're going to have our celebration for all our milestones. So, you know, all the, I think this last time I got certified board leader, so that was good. I'd just been selected as the new board member of the year.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations.
told I can only speak for 3 minutes. Dr. Feinside said 3 minutes, that's it, I'll cut you off. Also, I had meetings with Dr. Feinside. Throughout the state, he's been saying that we can only have 3 restaurants in 2 schools. So I convinced him that Bergen County is a little bit different. So we're gonna have 4 restaurants and only 1 school this year. So he's continued that. I am gonna continue my, my breakfast with board presidents and vice presidents throughout Bergen County. So expect that to happen. And we can collaborate together and be able to talk to other districts. Like I said, there's 77 school districts in school boards. So I hope everybody's going to convention. Yeah,
Most of us.
no? Well, if you can make it, really, it should be a good time. There's going to be a lot of different vendors down there this year. Who's going to the delegate assembly? Anybody?
You going?
Michael?
I'm getting an alternate, but yes.
Okay,
We
good.
will be represented.
Because I understand there's like 3 resolutions on the list. And this is important because this is a time for you as a board member to speak. Because we can't get our peoples in the legislature to go to Trenton and fight for us if they don't know what we're looking for. So it's important. They need direction. Because as Chris Jones always says, you don't want me directing myself. So, but anyway, thank you again. You all have my card. Please reach out if you have any questions or anything else. I would appreciate the calls and so on and so forth.
No.
All right?
Okay.
Anybody who didn't get a card?
Nope.
Nope? Okay, thank you again.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for coming. Well, okay. Alrighty then. All right, we're gonna go right into, oh no, we have a presentation. Who's doing the presentation?
Mike, you mind passing these down?
For you,
Good evening. I'll stand over here so I'm out of everybody's way. Let me present. The DOE requires
Just for the tape, because
Sure.
this is Nick Norcia, our Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. I think most of you know him, but I don't know who's watching on TV, so there you go, Nick. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. So the Department of Ed requires us to report out on our park scores in the fall of every year. So typically it'll be at this meeting, October meeting. That's good. So here you'll see our 2017 math scores by grade level, from grades 3 through high school, 3 through 8, and then Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. You can see on there that the district level where we scored as compared to the state of New Jersey exceeds expectations in every grade level. This is very impressive. I think you will be very impressed with this whole PowerPoint slide and what you see here. But the mathematics, every grade level has exceeded the New Jersey expectations. So this is something that you should be very proud of, being a resident of Fairfield. Any questions with this? Percent of students that met or exceeded their expectations in math grades 3 through 8. This slide allows you to see what the park average is, the New Jersey average, and where our district scored. So just take a second, let this soak in and see how impressive the students of Fairlawn are. Dave, there's a chair over here. Here as well is percent of students that met or exceeded expectations in the end of course mathematics, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. 66, 58, and 40. Very impressive. Lauren, I think we need to give a shout out to Lauren Diamond, our math supervisor. Throwing a high over there. Good stuff. This slide is very interesting because this is grade 7. It shows the grade 7 students, 57% there, 5 exceeding expectations, 52 meeting expectations, 31 approaching, 11 partially, and 2 not yet meeting, but also the Algebra 1. Look at how many students are taking Algebra 1 as a 7th grader in Fairlawn and exceeding expectations. Very impressive right there. 41 students taking Algebra 1 as 7th graders. This slide equally as impressive, grade 8, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So our grade 8 students exceeding expectations and meeting expectations again over the state average, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. 45 8th graders taking Algebra 2. Joking yesterday saying that we're running out of math courses to offer high school students because they're taking them too early, because that's how advanced they are. This is very impressive for a Fairlawn. Moving on to our language arts, grades 3 through 11, the same exact thing, exceeding expectations in all areas, which is very impressive as compared to the district and state averages. Percent of students that met or exceeded expectations, grades 3 through 8. Once again, very impressive to see the district as compared to New Jersey and the park average as well. Now, one area you see where we slipped up, where our students struggled. Once again, grade 9, 10, and 11, park compared to New Jersey and the district. Here, it compares us to the state, the DFG, and the Fairlawn model, or the Fairlawn scores. You can see here, and you can jump in here, 59%. Here you see 33%, where it looks like it almost dips a little bit, but it's going to be obvious that it's dipping here because so many students here are exceeding expectations. So we have no choice but our students to be lower here just because of how high our students are performing here, and this is a good sign when it's lower here in the partially proficient. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Questions? Not sure how you can really have questions with this, except how we get them even a little bit higher. This is our grade 8 science. Fairlawn doing very well, advanced proficient as well, proficient, and a low number for partially proficient, which is exactly what you want to see. Biology end of course assessment. Surpassing the state and the DFG as well. Number of students with disabilities who take the alternate proficiency assessment, or the ELM. We don't have to disaggregate the scores here due to the low number and possibility of you being able to identify which students they are with such a low number. This just shows you how many students are taking an alternative assessment due to their disability.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, 48 kids out of 1,100 special ed kids are taking alternate assessments. The rest are taking the regular.
Correct.
Good point.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yes. It's very impressive. We've been working with our child study teams, our testing coordinators, our supervisors to identify those students and identify the areas where they may be struggling and whether or not we have to look at exemptions for those students and make sure that we're not holding anybody back for graduation requirements due to their disability as well.
Do they get, the other students, do they get special time or do they get any difference? They get differences, correct?
When you say other students, you mean students with disabilities?
Yes.
Yes. So the park manual allows us to provide certain park accommodations
Okay.
for students as per their IEP.
Okay,
It's
good.
called the PNP, correct, Natalie?
Correct.
Yeah. So what is it, personal needs profile? There you go. It allows us to provide that for them.
Okay.
Here's a very impressive slide. Here's my favorite one of the night. There you go. Fairlawn drops in there. This great timing. This presentation was already put together over the last couple of weeks. And this last weekend, this article came out. 100 districts where the schools, where they fell in the state of New Jersey, elementary and middle school. 100 districts, 600 plus in the state of New Jersey, and Fairlawn came in 19th for the scores. That's
Ahead of
unbelievable.
Ridgewood.
Ahead of Ridgewood, but I'm not supposed to say that. I heard you said it.
I said it.
Fairlawn really ready. We're gonna have one more time. We worked on this all day to make this thing drop. Nothing was happening in central office today. 19 out of 600 plus school districts. Very impressive right there. So
I agree with
Any
you, but you
questions?
know what, you have a lot of dysfunctional kids now.
This is just a testament to you as parents, you as administrators, you as teachers, you as board members, all the support that you give Fairlawn. This is a testament to everything you do. Jim, Matt, administrators here, what you do on a daily basis. This is very impressive to see right here. I mean, the data does not lie by any means. Yes?
I wanted to compliment those individuals to whom you just
Yeah.
gave praise to, so I'm not taking anything away from that. I just have a question for you on this, this math, grades 3 through 8. There seems to be in grade 5 that the students reached a peak, and then there's a decline from there downward as to the percentages. Now, I can understand grades 7 and 8 possibly because of the algebra that they're taking, but I just wanted to know, are we doing anything for this? Is this consistent from last year, or is this just an anomaly that, you know, that occurred this year?
So grade 5,
Fi-
what was
grade-
78 and drop it down to
Yeah, and
66,
they've
87?
all dropped lower, and it possibly for grade 7 and 8 due to the algebra that you said that they were taking. However, I don't know if that is the cause or not, and are we doing anything? There's always room for improvement, as
Sure.
you said, so.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me to answer that question, I would be remiss because not knowing what has actually happened, but also not knowing the cohort of students that are in there. If you don't know where those students are at, you could have a high number of students who may have just moved into district at that year. There could be various factors. So I think it's only fair that if we look into that and got back to you with why.
I don't have to see what the boards were from last year. I
Sure.
don't remember.
Yeah, that's
them
what
off
I'm
the
saying.
top
And I'm
of
not
my
taking
head.
anything
No, not
away
at
from
all.
the teachers. I mean, they've done an
Listen,
excellent
you can
job
always
and
improve.
so forth.
You can always improve, so I think that's a
wanna know
fair
if we're
question.
addressing
But I
that.
just don't think it's, I think it's best for us to look into that and get back to you.
First of all, I would love to see, because it was easier to do with the New Jersey Ask to look at the different cohorts going up
Sure.
through the years. Because I always found that that was a lot more helpful than looking at two different classes, because you have different cohorts of kids. You know, when I'm looking at this though, I see the same thing through the district, New Jersey, and Park. I see that same decline.
Right, so I'm wondering
So
why.
I think it's something with the test.
Could be the test line.
Because it looks like what our kids did compared to New Jersey and Park, that it was kind of even.
Well,
I think that's-
and one thing that we absolutely do every year is we take a look at the CART scores, and we're able to look at it across the strands. And so Lauren, who's here, she works with the math teachers during department meetings to analyze the test scores, look at the different strands, look for where do we do better, where do we need to work harder, and then we adjust our curriculum, we adjust activities to try to meet those demands. But as Mike was saying, it is hard to compare last year's 6th grade to this year's 6th grade. It's good because we can see if there are weaknesses in our curriculum by doing that, obviously, but we also do want to look at the cohort of students and see how did they do last year as 5th graders, and let's see what happened to them as 6th graders. Are the same strands, are they deficient in the same strands? Are they showing growth as a group, as individuals? So there's a lot of data analysis that we do obviously do in the background, looking at individual students as well as curricular issues that we may have, or we might have to spend more time on some skill versus another.
Natalie, I'll get to you guys in a second. Natalie was great. I really appreciate all the help that she provided with this presentation and everything that she does for our curriculum. But her and I looked at this, and we looked at the best way to show our results. And we went back and forth with slides, we tweaked it a bunch of times, but we just really felt to highlight our students overall as compared to New Jersey and the DFG and the Park average, really just showcase our students and how well they performed last year. But we could definitely look into all that, and there's so many reasons that it could be. No means. Jeff and Ron, I'm going out of order.
I have two questions. One, I know years past, like, you know, even before I was on the board, watching scores go up and down in our district and other districts, Does Parks test stay consistent, and their grading, things like, because I know at New Jersey has, like, one year, it would be this type of test, next year it would change, then the passing would be this. Because when I first came in, one of the first questions I asked Bruce was like, I'm not crazy about that, why is it? And that's when he explained to me. So are they pretty consistent with how they're doing it so far? Like, the tests are staying kind of the same, if you understand what I'm going at?
Like cutoff scores and
Yes.
passing, like what
Yes.
they're looking for as far
Yes,
as raw scores.
and the
to pass.
basis of the test, like,
I
what I'm
believe
saying?
so far,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, the first couple of years, it was really hard to use the data for a lot of hard and fast decisions that we made in the district because you need to have the test in place for a few years for
Yeah.
reliability purposes.
Okay.
And so now we feel pretty confident in these results. The other thing we find interesting is we look at them compared to our CTP4 scores, just to see, how students are doing on both tests because they measure sort of different things.
And I assume we had a very low percentage of opt-out?
Yes. We did, and that's great thanks to the parents. The first year, we did have a higher opt-out rate, obviously. I think the public was nervous about the test. We weren't really sure what it was going to be used for and what it was about. And so after we got through the first couple of years, I think there's a different confidence level on the part of parents, and we had very few opt-out. And I think most were in the high school initially, and we had very few last year in high school. And we had many schools that had none. So
Please.
Overall, in the state of New
It's much
Jersey, it's tapered off as compared to the first year, as Natalie said. Joe?
Yeah. I understand that test scores look good, and that's great, and I'm not taking anything away from the accomplishments, and it's nice to see those numbers do well. I think it is indicative of progress students are making and how the professionals are working with our students. So I'm wondering if there's any correlation that you found, empirical or otherwise, that lead to any type of correlation between Park scores and actual success on other types of indicators. For example, project-based things or other practical types of use of knowledge, where I personally believe where we can more properly demonstrate a student's ability as opposed to a sit-down test, because like all tests, they can be debunked, they can be, through strategy, they can be broken without a lot of knowledge. So have you found that there is a correlation between high test scores and their ability to do other things, or are there students who are scoring poorly that are doing well on other types of assessments, project-based and otherwise, in their regular classes?
I think it'll work. I don't want to.
I was gonna say yes and no. I think it can be.
Both ways.
Yeah, without a doubt. Mike and I were speaking about that before, about a student who may have struggled, or I don't want to assume that they may not have scored so high, but then all of a sudden they surprise you on the day of a test and they do really well, and vice versa. So I think there is data and research to show that students that perform well on tests like this tend to perform well in other areas, but it doesn't hold true every single time.
If that's the case, how exactly are we going to, as a district, continue to use these test scores to decide whether or not students are allowed to be in advanced classes or not? Being that I think we can agree that there are a lot of students who don't perform well on tests, how are we making sure that kids are having access to other indicators to allow them into other classes?
Want me to
Yeah,
just
go
jump in? So we use multiple measures, and it's not just PARC. PARC could be one of them, but we also use grades in the classroom. So where they would be doing these other performance-based measures, whether they're projects or other assessments in the classroom. So that is a part of it, and standardized test scores are a part of it. So we don't look at just one factor. We also tend to look over a couple of years as well. So
What's the balance, you would say? Like, where's the weight of PARC versus grades versus other abilities?
I think that's a very broad question. I think the answer of what's the balance in which specific area? Are you just talking about one certain subject that we're looking at?
And in general, any subject, is PARC like 75% and everything else is 25%, or is it 50-50?
I think we would
like
have
on the
specific rubrics of what they are. I don't think we
Yeah.
use one
Parks,
rubric,
no.
that's just the same, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think we just use one rubric, that's the fair one rubric for all models. Yesterday, as Dr. Pelestis was saying earlier, we worked on scheduling all day, and we were looking at that, and the question came up about, you know, is the park too late? Do the scores come back too late, and is that gonna throw off our scheduling? And we said that that's not the only indicator we're using to drive those decisions. So whether the park comes too early or too late, or when the scores come, it's not the only measure that we're using. So I think to answer your question, to be fair, we would have to look at the rubrics and get back to you on that, and see what models.
Do people have access to these rubrics? Or just the central office has access to those rubrics?
Do who people have access to it?
Any people have access to those rubrics?
We have access to those rubrics, central office supervisors,
Does-
guidance counselors.
Do either the board or the public have access to those rubrics?
I'm sure that you could see them if you would like to see them, and if parents ask us about it, we talk to them about it.
But do they get to see them?
We,
I've never seen them.
yeah, we will talk to parents about it. So we
Well,
will
is that a
let them
public
know
document?
criteria.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
Okay, I won't pursue that, but I think you know how I feel.
Paul indicated that it's not a public
I would
document.
conclude it's not. I mean, we'd have to look into it, but I have to consider.
Just one opposite way, because I know this was with my daughter years ago. If a child is, and this was before the park testing, so she didn't take it, but if a child's doing well in school, you know, say A student, in a particular, say math, because she was, but she struggles on the test, we will pull that child out to get a little extra help for the
Absolutely.
testing, correct?
Yes, so we also use it to help students who might be struggling and to give support, absolutely.
Well, no, the reason I'm asking is because I'll be honest with you, like, I found it ironic, she was like an A-plus student. She didn't happen to her, actually, to be honest with you, it happened to a friend of hers, she was an A-plus student, but she actually struggled on the math part of the ask, and they pulled her out for like an hour just to help her to get the score up, and I was just like, that's kind of like ironic, you know, like, you're really doing well, but, you know, so.
And that's what, you know, going back to one of Jeff's questions, it could work both ways.
Well, that's why I
Sometimes-
brought it up, because it
Right.
can go both
They
ways.
don't always go hand in hand.
Yeah, no,
and
I
that's-
know, and I know it's not just one testing, I know you take a lot into it, so.
Absolutely.
I think that's why it's so important to look at multiple criteria points and
Absolutely.
data and not just one test. I think all these questions are fair questions and good questions, and I think it gives us something to think about. One, how do we always improve, which is, we're doing great as it is, but how do we always improve? But the other thing is for us to look at, you know, this is one test that we're using right now, and this isn't the end all and be all, but this is wonderful. This is great. These are great questions, but these are great test scores.
Yeah, no,
And we
no.
have to, and like we said earlier, this is kudos to everybody in this room and everybody in the Fairlawn community, because this is a team effort right here, and it's showing in the data. Mike?
And
Oh,
I was just gonna add on, and the one other piece is that for the current freshman class, a high school graduation requirement for that freshman class is you must pass the Algebra 1 and you must pass ELA 10. So our responsibility as educators is to make sure that our students are prepared to graduate. You know, we have the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. We have to build our curriculum based on the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and the PARCC test is reflective of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. So it all sort of goes hand in hand. And again, we know that not everybody agrees with standardized testing.
No.
Some people don't, and, but, you know, we do have that responsibility to help our students to be prepared and graduate. And I really, truly like to look at the PARCC as, it really is an indication of what students have mastered in our curriculum. I look at it that way because our curriculum reflects the standards. So, you know, I think that if teachers are doing their jobs all the time and teaching every day according to the curriculum that the teachers and the supervisors have created, that our students are in great shape. And we start that at kindergarten, so it's not about the Algebra 1 teacher, and it's not about the ELA 10 teacher. It's really about every teacher, grades K through 11, making sure that we are doing the right job every day for our students. And Jim is always so gracious when he speaks, because he'll always talk about it's not just high school teachers, that it really is the efforts of everybody from kindergarten on. So we're fortunate we have great teachers in the classroom.
Mike?
Just a couple of things. First of all, I'm not a proponent of park, and I haven't been. But, very interesting thing happened this year. I looked at the park. First of all, every year it seems that we get more information to use from park, to where we could look what type of questions the kids are struggling with and stuff like that, and we could drive instruction from that. But I teach 6th grade. My 6th grade students last year, when I looked at the park scores, besides 2 kids, each one of them on the ELA part of the test scored exactly what our team of teachers thought they would score. Like, there was no surprises. There was no one that got a horrible grade. There was one girl that got a fantastic, exceeded expectations that I said, where was she all that last year? But otherwise, it was exactly what they were supposed to be. So I'm still not a fan of high-stakes testing. I'm not a fan that we judge teachers unfairly. Math and ELA teachers get 30% now, right? 30% of their evaluation is how kids score on this test. And I think that that's totally wrong in the state of New Jersey.
Absolutely.
And unfair, because I don't get measured by that. Okay? But as far as the validity of the test, it's shown me something.
I just want to say that might be a topic for the school boards to discuss.
I wanted to just provide a little bit of perspective. So I know some of you were at the strategic planning kickoff meeting a little while ago, and one of the slides that we had up there in our description of the district, there were several that really come to mind in light of our conversation. One was about diversity. I think the community was a little bit surprised at how diverse we truly are. There was another one that I think is really important, and I'm going to use that. As you know, when I do my referendum presentations, they keep getting bigger because we have more information. But the point that was made at strategic planning was that in Bergen County, if you ranked all of the school districts, Fair Lawn is among the lowest spending. Now, can you put up that last slide? I mean, and when you're on your way in, we have the full article. Nick grabbed the first. I mean, this really is a celebration. But if you look at this list, and I don't want to make judgments about districts, Fair Lawn on that list is the only one that has 5,000 or more students. Is among the lowest spending in Bergen County, and placed 19 in New Jersey. And again, look at the list of, I mean, you know the socioeconomics, so I'm not going to judge what they are. But our community is very, very different than some of the communities on that list. Our community is much, much larger. I mean, to get these kind of results with a district of 5,000 students is quite a tribute to everyone, every child, every parent, every teacher, the Board of Education, this whole community. But these results are not just surprising, they are shockingly good. And because take a look at that top 100 and you will see schools that didn't score anywhere near Fair Lawn, but have socioeconomic status that really puts them in a different category than us. So, you know, we should all be very proud of what our students did and what our staff did to pull this all together. I've never seen that. And when I first looked at this, I actually had to double check and say, wait a minute, is that right? But, you know, out of over 600 districts in New Jersey, to be large and then to be number 19 in the entire state is quite a tribute to this community. And what it shows you in a nutshell is we're a low spending district, but we're very, very high performing. Low spending and high performing, and I think most folks like that combination.
Thank you.
So that's my perspective.
Thank you, Bob.
Other questions?
Members of the audience, feel free to ask Nick a question.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
You have a question?
A question in the back, okay.
Time expired. Now we're
Just state your name, please.
Hi, I'm Emily Cohen, 3715 Garden View Terrace. So I'm going to ask two what I probably think are tough questions. The first tough question is, have you looked at not statewide averages or park averages, but looked more at a select group of New Jersey schools that would be considered comparable to Fairlawn or peer-like?
That's the DFG. Sorry.
Okay.
So
The district factor group there. So it does compare it to schools, districts similar.
But that's just for one indicator. The other ones were all for, like, most of the presentation is for state and park,
we can tease that out.
right? Okay. And then the other thing is that, I mean, like, the averages are awesome, of course, but I'm wondering if the administration has or is planning to look into subgroup differences across schools, across, like, where research shows that there's disparities in certain sociodemographic groups, to see if we're doing our more vulnerable, sociodemographically vulnerable students right, compared to other districts that have a similar kind of mix.
Absolutely, we do lots of analysis of the data and we really wiggle it down. This presentation shows how we're doing as a district. We obviously look at school results, we look at results according to teacher, we can look at results according to all different subcategories. So there's a lot of data available to us that we do look at individually within our schools as administrative groups. So yes.
As well as the individual student reports as well. I know that your children are too young to be taking the park already, correct?
I don't, it's more about.
No, but I'm saying that you've never
Yeah,
seen the
you're not
individual,
great.
so the individual report is very detailed, is what I'm getting at, that comes out for the park, that goes home to the parents, but it's very helpful to us as educators to look at that, because it gets more in-depth to where the students struggled, where they did well on it, and it allows us to drive instruction with them.
Okay.
And
just
the
how-
principals work with their grade level teachers and they do pretty in-depth analysis.
I guess I'm just speaking as, like, chatter from the community about how our district is doing and how it's serving different subgroups of students. It'd be nice to have some real good analysis from.
Yeah,
like,
and let me add that there's another analysis that everybody has access to, and that's called the Student Performance Report. It used to be called New Jersey State Report Card, now it's called the Student Performance Report. But the state of New Jersey will publish all of that data, and it's available on the website, but then each one of our families receives that as well. So everybody in the community would get data about all of this, including financials for the district. Each of the building principals writes a narrative about the unique component of their own school. That's very, very comprehensive, and it is based on subgroup analysis. So it'll be a subgroup analysis of a subgroup New Jersey, a subgroup DFG, a subgroup versus the district, and so on and so forth. But that's a really valuable tool. The state is right now just putting together the database for it, and on October 27th, we do the submission of the principal narrative, and then the state takes all of this data from the state databases and it inserts it school by school all across the state of New Jersey.
Okay, so I just wonder, is there any, in your additional analyses with subgroup differences, is there any area that we as a community should be aware of, or that you're looking into to see if we could do better by any particular groups of students, or is it too premature to publicly say anything about that aspect of your?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't say anything about that at this moment.
Natalie? When the teacher gets a test, she sees exactly where children are not doing well.
Absolutely.
She sees exactly which.
I'm not talking about teachers and individual students, I'm talking about the state of our district as a whole.
Right.
Yes, but then you're seeing all of the students in the class, you're seeing exactly.
I'm so glad you said that, Joan, because it's really great to see teachers and and Natalie and I have spoken about that, who have come running down saying, can I see my students' test scores? I can't wait to see them, because they're so excited, they spend so much time with them. And I see my students from last year and see how they did, and it's just so nice, and of course you want to share it with them right away, because they're so proud of their students, but they're also so proud of their profession. So how can we improve and help our students moving forward as well? So it's good stuff, so thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, Nick, Natalie, thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good presentation.
Great job.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to stand up there also.
Okay. Okay, Brooke has a little presentation.
Yeah, I got to change
Oh. What's this one?
If there was not enough copies of the Patch article that showed the top 100 schools, if anybody wants it, you can just Google the article, or you could just email me, I can send it to you as well. Thank you, appreciate it.
Next time. Make or Greg.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right, Brooke's going to do her presentation, if you could have your attention, please.
This is really just focusing on the Warren Point fire, but specifically our reaction to that, and really how wonderful we all worked as a team. And it was very seamless and almost perfect. So on October 4th, I'm sure everybody here has probably heard about it, a fire broke out at Warren Point in the kitchen, which is adjacent to our multipurpose room. And it was just before 7 a.m. So what I wanted to accomplish with this was kind of just showcase how we all work together and who the players were. So our emergency personnel was, of course, amazing, phenomenal. They were there, probably within 1 minute or so, extinguished the fires, police were there, they closed roads. Our Office of Management, Wendy Alvarez, was there. She helped us communicate with staff that were beginning to show up, any parents that were showing up, assisted us in administration with communicating with the other professionals that were on the scene. Our maintenance department, John Yox and Tom Stanko, were the first ones to be notified since this was in the building and it's a building issue. The alarm went off. They were there immediately and immediately started working with the fire and police officers to start to address the issues that were going on around the perimeter of the building. So Tom Stanko notified Ernie and myself, and we were there just before 7:20 in the morning. The fire was already being extinguished. Nick arrived shortly after that. Natalie kind of stayed at the fort and helped us coordinate communicating with all of the other principals to make sure everybody was aware of what was going on. So there's so many components that come along when there's an emergency that we all have to make sure that we remain calm and everybody gets notified appropriately. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, people say, oh, well, the students aren't there, but we have before and after care. We have special education students where buses are getting prepped to go out and pick them up and bring them to the building. So Nancy Schwinn, who's the principal at Warren Point, immediately started sending out a school messenger to all of the staff and the students to let them know that school is going to be closed. Our community school director, Mike Shansky, was directly in charge of our before care, arrived on the scene, assisted with kids that had already shown up or some kids who walked to school. They were dispatched to their emergency location, which is the Fire Company 3. our director of transportation, started making phone calls to all the parents with special education students to let them know schools were closed. Some kids had already got on the bus at this point, so we had to make sure we could circle back. And my executive assistant, Sandy Logan, got the phone call. I got the call at 6:40 in the morning. She got the phone call at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and started immediately calling insurance, because with something like this, we need to get our insurance adjuster out there immediately to start inspecting so that we can start the process of opening school back up again. And our faculty was absolutely tremendous. The staff that was already there helped Ernie, Nick, me, Tom Senko, John Yobbs, help parents, coordinate with staff, students, make sure the students that had arrived were calm. Of course, they had a great time. They got to go to a firehouse. They got a goodie bag. They were not as disturbed as maybe some of the staff were. So what I wanted to just kind of show was, I'm not sure that anybody who was there really kind of saw how devastating this fire really was, and that it could have been so much worse, and that within 20 minutes, it completely consumed the kitchen and filled our multi-purpose room from floor to ceiling with smoke. So that's 22-foot ceilings in a multi-purpose room that was completely filled. So the heat, can you see? Okay. So the heat was so intense that it actually melted the window. So we had a plexiglass window there, which of course is gone. The outside of our building was damaged with the smoke soot. So this is just a view of the kitchen from in the multi-purpose room. So you can see that the fire hose water was still all over the place. This is just showing it burned the refrigerator, our stove, our appliances, all of our cabinets, freezer. This is our point of sale machine that we use for our school lunch program, so everybody knows every kid has a PIN number and a scanner. This was completely melted to a blob. This was our gym floor, which you can see the water from the fire hoses had come all the way out from that kitchen into the gym floor, damaging. Fortunately, we cleaned it up. As soon as they said you're allowed to go in there, we dumped all the water and got rid of it. But that black soot is kind of just an example of what everything looked like in that room. So here's our staff is still at the firehouse. I blurred their faces so you can, it looks a little strange, but they were having a good time. So this is just an example of what we store in our multi-purpose rooms and what was in our storage area. So every item in here had to be cleaned, and if it could not be cleaned, like unfortunately our flags were disintegrating as they were being touched. So this is a specialty company that comes in through our insurance company that has these machines where they are on genie lifts and they scrub the entire facility from top to bottom. And it took them 4 days to accomplish this. So here we are for Monday morning. So we worked all weekend long. This happened on a Wednesday. It was Thursday. Wednesday was closed. Thursday, Friday, we were back open. We relocated our cafeteria staff. We put them in a conference room in the building so they could still get the lunches out to all the students and make sure we're doing our school lunch duty. So our ceilings were the corrugated ceiling tiles, and the smoke, smell, and damage, when we went to pull them down to have them clean, they were completely disintegrated. So of course, I'm sure everybody can imagine, there's insulation above there and everything else. So it's not just a matter of pulling the ceiling tile down and cleaning it. It was a larger job, and we did upgrade our ceiling and our lighting. And this was Sunday night around 10, maybe 8 o'clock p.m., where we had our floors shining and ready for the students to return. So at this point in time, we've completed all of our emergency requirements. So of course, there's certain notifications to the county office and state office. We're in the process of getting replacement quotes and proposals for everything that was lost in the fire. As I mentioned, our food service operations were relocated. We've been selling lunches and kids are eating. We have to obtain architectural plans for our kitchen to submit to the building department. Before they'll even let us put anything back in there, we need to replace our floor, all of our appliances, the electrical, all the electrical that was in there. So But the way it works is really, it's a lot of dealing with insurance, and we have to send everything to insurance, all the reports first, before we go and do everything. So in the next couple of weeks, we will be looking to finalize our process and have new kitchen appliances put into that area. Does anyone have any questions?
Great job.
Hi, Jill.
I have to say, my sister-in-law was subbing that day at the school.
Oh, that's an
And
exciting day.
So she said that it was just so, she's from Southwick, but she said it was so well-run. She said, she's one of the people that took the children over to the firehouse, the ones that were there early. So she said it was just amazing how very well-run it was.
It's really a kudos to all of us in administration, everybody in central office. I mean, we really do work as a team. We really do like each other and get along, and that goes with all of us in administration, so it really, I mean, we really did such a great job, and nobody was panicking, we just kind of got there, got our job done, you know, made sure we were covering all of our bases.
What was the cause? Did they find it?
We still haven't gotten that report yet.
Members of the audience, questions?
David Trainer from Newtown. I just want to say congratulations on your reactions to everything. I mean, you know, kind of, you follow it on, I mean, like Facebook, obviously you follow what's happening, and it was amazing. Even the parents were saying how great everybody was, and so, I mean, just to read everything that you did there. And then, I'm curious though, so originally you were going to do an hour delay and then decided to do an electrical inspection, which was great, that you did that, but like, how does that decision get made?
So it's basically, you know, there's a lot of moving components, and the town officials are the people who we are going to defer to. So if a safety inspector says to us, I'm not comfortable with this, we're gonna say, we're erring on the side of caution and we're not going to open school. So that was why there was that change.
Congratulations on everybody's reaction.
Thanks. I think everything was perfect, and I mean, for 7 o'clock in the morning, the only thing I messed up on was I wore inappropriate shoe attire because I didn't want to be standing in, you know, water and soot. So I needed waiting.
Actually, that night we had the school board dinner,
Yes.
so Brooke had her heels on and.
Yeah, I got dressed up to go to Maggiano's.
And I said to Brooke, so you walk through some soot and water, don't worry about it. She didn't buy it though.
You wouldn't have said nothing.
I just want to say,
carpet cleaning bill?
I was in contact with Ernie and Brooke throughout the day and throughout the whole process, and they did a great job. The principal, I sent her a letter, an email from the board thanking her and her staff for the great job that they did. And I'm blown away by how fast you got everything cleaned up and back to normal. That's a testament to, like you said, how well everybody works together. And I just want to thank everybody on behalf of the board, all the administrators, the teachers. I want to thank the volunteer fire people, the police department, everyone involved just did a bang-up job.
Restoration company.
Restoration, well, yes, they did do it.
No, like you said, in 3 days, that's what those companies
Yeah,
do.
yeah, and it was-
That's why they're there.
Because I went and I looked, and man, it still
I
stunk
saw
a
it,
couple of
yeah.
days later.
Yeah.
And then now it's all back to normal. Okay, Jeff, you want to say
Were
something?
all the staff in the building all day with all the kids, or how did that work with
No, it
the
was so
faculty?
early in the morning that it was really kind of the early birds that were there. So
And were they asked to stay, or did they stay voluntarily?
they stayed voluntarily.
No,
So they stayed
Outside of the building.
outside, nobody was allowed in the building.
understand.
Yeah.
For the staff who took the time to stay all day even though they didn't have
It
to,
was not all day, it was
or even part of the day when they didn't have to, are they receiving any type of, I almost used the word kickback, I'm sorry.
Remuneration?
Remuneration, from the district?
They're receiving professional praise.
Yes.
Okay.
Nothing in the form of compensation, and you know, none of them asked or anything in that
I
regard.
know they didn't
What
ask,
was-
but-
What was nice is almost instinctual, how teachers were just lining up and saying, what can I do, can I help here? And then some were sent to the fire department. What was really interesting is that we talked about the early birds. It's, you know, when people get into the habit of dropping children off at a school, what was amazing is people were still dropping the kids off with fire trucks. You know, and we're saying, no.
There was a couple of funny moments where we're like, the school's on fire.
See that smoke? What day is this?
So nothing else was considered, or like a letter in the file, they didn't get anything?
Positive professional from me and from the building principal.
It would have been, okay. I don't know, I think they should be paid for their time.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, Brooke, thank you very much.
So I know how everyone here loves PowerPoint, so the good news is I'm not doing one. I do want to go over some mandatory reports that I have to give, but one is, I looked at the October enrollment count from this very same meeting a year ago. In October 2016, we were at 4,856 kids. As of today, it's 5,000. It was 24, and now it's 25. So, again, we keep tracking the data, but that's important to understand that the growth continues. I gave to the board members a list of suggested topics, and I want to talk about what I mean by topics. So, at our board meetings, some topics we are required to do in a designated month by the state of New Jersey and through the codes and the DOE. So for example, tonight's meeting about test scores is one that is required by New Jersey that has to be done in October. Later on, in a few minutes, I'll do something called violence and vandalism. That's also in October 1. But you can tell by the way that we tried to structure all the referendum meetings that it's far better to tell the public ahead of time, we're going to be looking at this one topic in a little bit more detail. So for example, at our next referendum meeting, Nick is going to look at all of the survey results and he's going to present that to the public. But I came up with a suggestion of topics, and then there are some months that these are going to be open, and if board members want a particular topic, just let me know and we can slide them in. But for November, I am suggesting that we have Mike Shansky come in. Mike is a person who is involved with verified residency, who takes care of residency issues, the enrollment of students, the disenrollment of students, and I think that would be great to show how all of that works from the very beginning. How do we start a residency investigation? How does it conclude? In December, Nick will be back again with a special ed audit. So last year, hopefully you'll start to see the connection between the 2 years. Last year I went to the Board of Ed with a somewhat unusual request, but I said to them that our special ed program is so large, 1,100 kids, the largest in Bergen County, and also has a significant budget. $28 million out of our $98 million budget is allocated towards special ed. I said, let's bring in some experts from the outside who can do an audit of our special ed programs. So that will be presented in December, and then I have open months for January, February. March and April, that's when we're going to be heading into the budget season. So we need to reserve those meetings. April is mandatory by law to do the budget adoption. And I'm thinking that at some point we should take care of concluding and ratifying whatever the strategic planning results are, and that would be May. But if we keep with that theme, maybe people are really interested in the special ed piece. And if we tell them ahead of time, the theme at the meeting in December is going to be special ed, that I think is, because otherwise you don't know what the topics are. You can look at the agenda, but that might make us, I think, penetrate the community more with information that the community wants. And people can always ask questions at any meeting, but that's what I'm suggesting. So either tonight or at some future time, we have 3 months already locked up. If there are presentations that board members want, you can talk about that now. You can just send me an email and we'll start preparing. Right now we're okay all the way through January. So you have plenty of time to think about topics that you'd like to hear about. annual violence and vandalism forms that are outside, but I want to tell you what violence and vandalism is. In New Jersey, there are some mandatory data submissions. And so the state of New Jersey requires the superintendent to present data, have a little hearing, see if anybody has questions about violence and vandalism and HIB. At our last meeting in September, we did our HIB self-evaluation in which the principals scored themselves against the continuum to see how we look at ourselves in terms of HIB results. I want to introduce to you a theme so that you have a perspective. And the theme is something that I introduced to the principals last year. And we've been working on it in quite detail, and that is my expectation to my building principals is that I want everything reported. I want everything reported. And I also, a year ago, said to this Board of Education that that's going to show us reporting more than we have in the past. Now, keep in mind that this is a district of over 5,000 students. So very, very quickly, the numbers look good when you consider that we have 5,000 kids. But these are the topics. So when we do a report of violence and vandalism, every time a disciplinary issue that comes across into the building gets sent up to central office, that's entered into the state database, and the state is accumulating data on us as we go. But the state identifies these 5 areas that we need to report on: violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, and HIB. When we get into the judgment involved, here's where you might see differences in school districts and from building to building. So in the area of violence, we reported 33 events. What does that mean? That means that we have a very safe school district, but my principals are reporting scuffles. And my direction to them is, if there are 2 kids on the playground that are having a scuffle, I want that sent in as violence. And it's important to set that tone administratively, because then that puts us in an opportunity of working with those kids. What happened? Why have we reported it in that way? So understand that. Vandalism, 5 issues. And vandalism is also defined under the law. It could be theft. So if somebody steals a cell phone or steals something off somebody's desk, that would be in that category. Weapons offense is 1. And that was one that was, in my view, not a serious weapon, barely met the definition. You know, you'll have elementary kids or high school kids come in with Boy Scout knives, but that's a weapon. And sometimes something that doesn't look like a weapon can be defined as a weapon, depending on what the person does. Talking about toys could be considered a weapon. You could consider a pencil a weapon. So the principals had training in how to place these in categories. Substance abuse, 1 issue in the district. HIB, 20. I want to also let everybody know that the violence and vandalism works in 2 cycles. So we have reporting period 1, then we have reporting period 2. Basically what that means is you take the school year and divide it in 2 pieces. So in January, I'll be reporting on the 2017-2018 results, and then next October there'll be a report on the second half of the 2017-2018 school year. So we have 2 things that we talk about. So the violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, HIB. And then we also report out, how does the district deal with this? I mean, so what are the consequences that a student could be impacted by? They range from expulsions, which was 0, suspension of the privileges, which was 1. That meant somebody was removed from recess for 1 day. But you can see how some of this could be interpreted differently. You know, that was not a high school event, but at a high school, maybe you take away parking privileges, which would be crushing. You know, so in-school suspensions 3, out-of-school suspensions 42. Removal, none of that. Detentions 9. And then others there are categories where you just, that's not clearly defined in the law. So if you were to compare this with the prior year, there's been an increase in every category because I'm making sure that everybody reports everything. And that's the only way of starting. You'll see that as we go through some of my reports, I like to be very, very driven by data and the decision-making that central office makes and recommends to the board. So it always gives us a starting point. Just like the conversation we had with Nick and the park data, that's real good data that will then lead to other reactions by us administratively and other issues that you will see soon play out. The fire issue that Brooke talked about did provide us with real data about our response time, the number of people, our ability. I know how much time it took us to get school messenger out. All of that we have data on because we use that to prepare ourselves. We had an emergency evacuation district-wide drill last week. We timed it. How much time did it take to get from each school to the relocation site? Is that normal? Is that enough? How many crossing guards did we have? So a lot of what we do here is data-driven, and that I can stop and take care of violence and vandalism, then I'm going to go on to another thing.
Sure.
Questions about violence and vandalism?
Just what goes under substance abuse? Because to me, I know that I don't live in a world where I don't know that some kids have substance abuse problems, and certainly in Fairlawn that's included. And when I only see that one reported case, it could kind of...
Well, it means a number of cases reported on school grounds. So it doesn't mean that there aren't substance abuse issues. We work very closely with the Municipal Alliance. I think, Mark, you're going to be talking about that. But what we're talking about here, for the most part, are issues that happened on school grounds. What would be an exception to that would be HIB, which could be off school grounds behaviors. But you're talking about school grounds during the school, I should say not just school grounds, during the school day is what's included in that. So, and we're making a lot of progress working with the municipality on substance abuse issues, but that specifically is what it means. Anything else in the violence and vandalism from board members?
Audience members, questions for Dr. Palestra?
Okay, moving on to, you have some packets out there called District Focus. And, I want to talk a little bit about why is it that a community like Fairlawn, why do we get, these were all sent home to the board members, and there were packets out there, but, what are some of the processes that we use to get better? And one is we set goals. At the Strategic Planning Committee, I shared that the Board of Ed has 8 goals. Last year we had additional goals. And what we do is we set goals at a database or based on some kind of needs assessment. So for example, one of our 8 goals this year is the strategic plan. And we're working with school boards to take care of that. Another goal is, we call it unpacking standards. That's directly related to Nick's report, where we're saying to the teachers, we want to get even better on academic achievement, and you need to know what standard we're following so that our instruction is focused on the New Jersey standards. And so the district focus is a process, a very good process, started by Bruce Watson. I've continued it. We've added a little bit more of a district-wide focus on it. But we measure it, and I can tell you that this part's not required by the law. There's no law that says we have to do a district focus report. But all of the board members know that we'll do that in October. We tell the whole community, this is what we want to work on in Fairlawn in 2017, 2018. And there are many communities in New Jersey that don't know the direction of the Board of Ed. What are the goals? These are very specific, they're very measurable, they're based on data analysis and/or needs assessment. And so why do we have a goal on mental health? Because the data indicated that we are having, last year, a large number of kids being sent for examinations, having issues in the school for anxiety. All that data winds up at central office. And we sit, and we look at it, and we get a sense of what the needs are. So district focus is our way of being data specialists and data-driven decision makers. And then at the end of it all, the Board of Education then will get some kind of post-report, and that will happen before the school year ends or shortly after, and you'll get a sense of how did we do. So tonight you saw a report on the fire, a report on the park, a report on violence and vandalism, a report on HIB. That really is good stuff. That means that we and the teachers, administrative team, the whole staff, we're holding ourselves accountable to what we said we want to work on. That's a very, very nice program. It's a concept that is rooted in educational research, and you need to know where you want to be when you start leading a district, or you want to be a change agent. And so we have a sense based on what we feel our needs are. And the strategic plan, by the way, really is a portion of this. It's not just the goal. We had our facilitators from School Boards Association asking the community, what do you think the needs are moving forward at Fairlawn? We had some really interesting responses. That is high-level boardsmanship. It really is. They did a great job. And then the community will say, we agree, these are our goals, and we'll develop a plan. And then the administrators will do action plans. Whatever the group comes up with, at the end, that's going to be a community and board-driven decision, but then we'll do the action plans. How will we get to where the community says they want to be? So, very quickly, I talked about the mandatory things, district focus, as I said, we have to do. Again, invite you to the next referendum meeting. That's going to be November 6th. Nick will be doing the data analysis of the survey. And I see a number of members of the audience that I've also spoken to about having referendum presentations. So wherever I go, if you're having a hot dog and I'm having a hot dog, we're going to talk referendum. But I have, for the month of November, about a dozen already speaking engagements, Rotary clubs, synagogues, churches, and so on and so forth. But we need to get out there in the community. I invite the board members to come with me. In the update tomorrow, you'll get a list of what I have scheduled. But what I'm saying to the audience as well is, if you are a member of a civic organization and you want me to come and talk referendum, if you can give me maybe 10 people, I'll come, even for 9 or 8. Or if you give me all the yes voters to come, I'll come. But no matter who it is, we're out there, and I'm doing one of the preschools this month. So we're trying to penetrate the community and let everybody know what's happening. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mike.
I just want to say one thing, because I was thinking about it after the park presentation, and you put a lot of focus on it. This district, starting with Bruce Watson, who was a numbers guy all the way, he data. And I'm really happy as a board member to see that you've taken that on also, and that part of it hasn't missed a beat.
Thank you.
Do we have stuff to improve upon? Of course we do, because we're a big district and certainly overcrowded right now. But as long as we're getting analysis of data, and that's what the central office is focused on, I think that helps us as a board, and it helps the community. The other thing I was thinking about after the park presentation was, yes, the numbers looked really, really good. But there was the other side of the park score numbers, which was the students that weren't proficient. And I know for a fact, I know we didn't showcase that, but I know for a fact that you do analyze that, and we work on getting those kids that aren't proficient up to that, up to those 4s and 5s.
And, you know, what I can add to
and
that
again,
is-
that's data. It's
is
data.
what you will start to look for and what you will see is everything's connected. So for example, yesterday we had a full day, Natalie was able to bring in a national expert on scheduling. We had a full day program on building master schedules. And the goal was, and when I first told the principals that this was our goal, I think there were many doubters in the audience. But when I told them that the goal is by January, we will have elementary schedules set for next year, I said, no, it's not possible. We came pretty close in a day. But a part of it is why? You know, what, for example, what should an elementary schedule look like? My view as a former principal, you should take your language arts program, get as much language arts time that you can get in, but do it in a block. In other words, period 1, 2, and 3 language arts. And you're going to do the same thing with math. So that's connected. I mean, the test scores are connected to that. The test scores are connected to our budget. When the Board of Education sets a budget, we come to you and say, we may need staff in this particular area, we'll tell you why. And so all of it at central office comes together. And you know, we work hard, and you see good results here, but we also reflect the community, because the community, a good community pushes the district and has high expectations. I have been in only a few districts where really there weren't a lot of expectations, and that, you know, they kind of just, some districts just go one year to the other. This one doesn't. I mean, we're driven for excellence, and we live that, and everything works together. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnie. All right, action items begin on page 8. Got S1, oh, we got to approve the minutes, sorry, G1, page 4, G1 and G2. May I have a motion for G1 and G2?
So moved. Second.
Comments or questions on the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you.
Keep me in line. Okay, S1, retirement and special resolutions. S2, approval of county state submission requirements. Yeah, I'm gonna do, we'll move them all, and then I'll have somebody read it. S3, disenrollments. S4, other business. Can I have a motion for S1 to S4?
So moved. Second.
Joan, would you like to read S1 for me?
S1, okay. Retirement and special resolution. Whereas Mrs. Kyle Strasser, a dedicated paraprofessional in the Fairlawn Public School District since 1997, has requested retirement effective June 30th, 2018. And whereas Mrs. Strasser, with warmth and kindness, has been truly receptive to the needs of those students requiring special instructional services by conscientiously and competently guiding them to fulfill their role in today's world, therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education publicly acknowledges the record of accomplishments achieved by Mrs. Kyle Strasser in her teaching endeavors of those students entrusted in her care and wishes for a long and happy retirement, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools presents a copy of this resolution to Mrs. Kyle Strasser.
Thank you, Joan.
You're welcome.
Any members of the board want to comment on Ms. Strasser? Mary?
Yes, I want to wish her a very happy retirement, and I just want to point out again that our paraprofessionals are invaluable to our special education needs children, and we have quite a few of them, and I think we really couldn't have such a wonderful special education department without them, so I hope she has a great retirement.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with Mary. You know, I wish her the best in her retirement, but our paraprofessionals are the backbone to our district. Our special education department, you know, too often we don't say thank you enough to them, and they need to know that. And we really appreciate everything they do for our students. They are the unsung heroes in our department at times, and just, wish her the best, and she deserves it.
Thank you, Nick. Cindy?
When you were talking about the backbone, it brings me back to last year's back to school night that I attended for the special education, which I was unable to make this year. And I talked, and I just looked out at the audience, and I asked them to look at those people that were standing across the wall of the gym, because they're the ones that are going to take those children and nurture them and bring out whatever they can to make them successful in whatever capabilities that they have. And the paraprofessional they just amaze me. They literally amaze me. Their hearts, their patience, their love for each and every student, and I think it's a real a wonderful thing that we have for our special education students, and I just want to wish Mrs. Strasser the best.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'm
Mary?
sorry. Is C part of it, the approval of the CUSAC statement of assurance?
Well, right now, we're just talking about this one.
We're not there yet?
No, we're just talking, I mean, we moved everything, but I want to get all the comments for Ms. Strasser.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the
And then
next.
come back to me, okay?
I just want to say that paraprofessional is a tough job. My daughter did it, substitute for a while. She did the summer school program, and she told me how difficult it is with some of those kids. And she loved it. She did a great job, but it's a very difficult job, and sometimes it's a thankless job. But so we would like to thank her as well as the rest of the parents. Any members of the audience want to say anything about S1? Okay, now, S2 through S4. Members of the board, Mary, you want to say something?
Yeah, CUSAC. So I am the CUSAC representative, and I did meet with Brooke. And we did have a meeting, and on the, what my job was to work with Brooke was on governance. And if you see governance, you'll see that each of the items has to be policy-driven, and all the policies are listed, and then it's, and so we complied. We got the full points. As you can see, we got the full points on everything.
Thank you, Mr. Ron.
I just want to, another scholarship by the class of 2017, so I think that's pretty amazing that you have your own class is going to present a scholarship to one of their fellow classmates, and you know what, it shows you the type of kids that go through our school district and what they grow up to be, so I think that's truly amazing. As I was reading through it, to find out that it's them doing it. They're raising their own money to do it. So, that's good.
It's last year's class of 2017.
Still, it doesn't matter, okay?
I think it's good too. But I
It's
think
the last year's class, but it's still, I think, for another class, to give another class is awesome. So, my mistake, but.
Jeff?
Yes, I'd like to talk about the district goals for a second, more than a second. One, I'm curious about the 5% number. Without seeing what the baseline is, how does 5% have any meaning? Meaning, if the baseline is hypothetically 3%, then we're going to 8%. Or on the other side of the coin, if it's 90%, then 5% is a lot. So how do we know what we're really voting for when we're saying it's going to increase by 5% when we don't know 5% of what? Because we don't know those baselines.
Well, these goals we already approved a while ago. This is the whole report, but the 5% is based on existing data from the previous year. So let's say we were talking about mental health, and we had data on the number of students referred for various issues. The idea then would be to use that as the baseline and improve that by 5%. Some of them, there's no baseline, so we don't have a strategic plan, but we will have a strategic plan. So the wording varies a bit. We have the goal on unpacking the standards. But it's really based on last year's data.
Okay, because it's just kind of hard when we don't have when we don't see that, so we have nothing to compare it to. For example, when it says, I'll just take the top one in the math. It says, not math, I'm sorry, digital literacy will increase by 5%. But again, I don't know what really 5% means in terms of
Right, and
the bigger
That's a
picture.
good, I mean, it is a valid question. Now, the other part of it is you get all that data at the end of the year, when then you decide, the board decides, have we met the goals? So,
Right, but I'm being asked to vote for it tonight.
you're asking to approve the process of it. The goals you approved back in
Understood. And
September or August meeting.
also, on this, it says teacher lesson plans. How is teacher lesson plans, how is that made quantitative? Like, how do we know, how does that go to the 5% teacher lesson plans?
Under what category are you looking?
Say, again, under math, it says evidence of completion, it says teacher lesson plans, and I think a couple of them said through teacher lesson plans. I
Right,
just
so the analysis
trying to
of
understand what that
the, of
means.
teacher lesson plans as they were before we started the initiative. And then an analysis throughout the year to see if the number of plans that reflect that sub-skill are included.
Okay. And I just have one more. In terms of the K-12 social studies, I was hoping to see, I guess, is there any initiative or thought or part of this process that's going to start with the interconnectivity of subject areas, meaning that the social studies curriculum will be more intertwined and working with, say, the language arts, where kind of like the novels they're reading are appropriate to what they're doing in social studies and history classes?
We have that already.
I don't, Rhonda, but I don't see that here, and I'm asking them.
So the,
All right, let him ask. Go ahead, Rick.
the nature of social studies is to connect with other disciplines. And that includes language arts, math, sciences, and so on and so forth. So in terms of the goal, what are you asking? What's the question?
I'm asking, is there any part of this process that the social studies department, when doing the new NJ standards, will be connecting them and working with the language department? Because I'm hearing that they are, but I don't see that on paper.
So the answer is, whenever we look at the social studies standards, we would look at other standards per grade level. That's what when we talk about unpacking standards, that's what we mean by that. The evidence would be presentation of lesson plans and data indicating that social studies is connected to other subjects.
Do the teachers work together, like history and English teachers, do they work in concert with one another?
When they can, they do. When we were looking at new schedules this week, we were actually building into teacher schedules collaboration time that would allow every grade level on the elementary, let's say third grade, all those teachers would meet together during a period of the day. We only went as far as elementary.
Thank you.
Well,
Mark?
Yes, S3, disenrollments, I just wanted to thank Michael Chansky and his crew for doing the fine job that they're doing with disenrollments. We are finding that more and more students who are out of district and attending Fairlawn schools are being looked into and have been found, and we are going after them monetarily. And I just wanted to, again, show the effort that he and his entire crew are putting into this.
Thank you, Mark. Any other board members? Members of the audience, S1 through S4, any questions or comments?
Al Dershauer. The S3, obviously you can't tell us, but the 21, effective 21 days from the date of the written notification. So do you have numbers as to how many, obviously not names, but like how many kids have been disenrolled?
and those will be presented when we have the report at the next meeting.
This is just one
This is
student.
just one.
Yeah.
So when we do that presentation, there's really, at the next meeting, two focuses. The first one is the process. How do we begin the process, the normal process of how do we get information that would start a investigation of residency? And Mike's going to walk us all the way through to the disenrollment component of it and also the appeals component of it. The second part of his presentation will be about verified residency, which is the program that we've been talking about and instituted last year. How does that work? And he'll walk us through that program as well.
Thank you.
Emily?
I'm from Fairview. I'm wondering, is the Fairlawn School District focus for this year available on the Board of Ed's web pages?
Well, we have one that's approved, it would be.
It will be out there, because I just Google searched it, and then the last one I saw was for 2015 to 2016. I didn't see.
It's approved.
Okay, so after it's approved, we'll put it up on the website.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I just want to, with regard to the disenrollment, first, the vast majority of these that we've done in the past few years have been students that did live in Fairlawn and then moved. So I just want to make that clear. We've tightened up the way the residency requirements to prove that you live here. So I just wanted to say that mostly it's parents that lived here and then for whatever reason moved to a different town but kept their kids in our district. The other thing is I'm going to have to abstain because I was not here for the hearing that we had earlier today. All right. Okay, so could I have a roll call on S1 through S4?
So moved. Second.
No, we moved already.
No, we did that.
Roll call. Yeah.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes, abstain on S3, I was not here either.
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
And Mr. Banta?
Abstain on S3, yes on everything else. Okay, E1, attendance at conference convention workshop. E2, approval of extracurricular trips. E3, approval of student, teachers, interns, practicums, field observation placement. E4, approval of bedside home instruction. E5, no items. E6, grants and entitlements. E7, no items. E8, approval of attendance at various Bergen County academies, technical schools. E9, no items. May I have a motion for E1 through E9?
So moved.
Second.
Members of the board, any questions or comments on E1 through E9? I just want to say, E2, there was some talk recently about our lack of field trips, but there's 29 field trips on here, so I just want to point that out to everybody, that we do take field trips, take them on a regular basis. There's 29 on this agenda. Mayor?
Yes, two things, the approval of the grant. Thank you to the people who worked to get the grant, because grants don't just fall out of the air. And also, I say it every time, congratulations to Fairlawn for accepting student, teachers, intern, practicum, field observation people. They learn from the very best when they come to Fairlawn.
I think we have some observation people here tonight.
Do we?
Yes, I think the Montclair State. Yeah, some,
I'll talk to you
part of the requirement, they have to come to this exciting meeting and report back on it. So,
Well,
we're available for autographs when
It's hard enough to keep teachers and we're putting them through this, no wonder.
Yeah, that,
Do you Montclair State folks know that you have a very high-ranking doctoral awardee to be among us? That's the autograph.
Ali Lagatina, Assistant Superintendent, your doctoral program.
fine.
Okay, members of the audience, E1 through E9. Questions or comments? Mel? State your name for the tape, please.
Mildred Howard.
Thank you.
So the E2 section, the approval of extracurricular trips, are these like first come, first serve? Like, are these like how do you pick these? Like, is there like a quota, like?
So they are curricular based.
Okay.
We, just this year, at the elementary level, we came up with, we thought that we wanted to come up with common field trips for our students. So again, they have common experiences across the grade levels. So they are basically, most of them are related to science topics, social studies topics, literacy. Some students go to shows at Montclair State. They have the Theater Works, I believe it's called. So they are curricular based. And so teachers are entitled to attend field trips that are curricular based.
And with our special education students, much of their community learning is a big piece of what they do as part of their curriculum.
Right. So there's no set, set cap where it's like, so this isn't for the whole year, like,
No, no,
they
no.
can still submit for
Oh, no,
their-
this is not, you will see field trips on
Right.
here every month.
Okay.
What do they do at Pioneer Village?
Okay. Oh, Elise?
I thought it was like.
I just wanted to say that the reason that some of them it looks like it's for the whole year is because we requested that they do it as soon as possible, because sometimes we were sending kids on trips and approving it later because there was like difficulty in getting tickets or something like that, so that's why you see some for June. It doesn't mean that it's closed out for the year, you know what I mean? It's just that as soon as they know that they're going, that they make the plans and reservations or whatever, that they submit it, so it's clear, and then it's not an issue.
Exactly, Elise, thank you.
Because it does
Yeah.
look like it's the year's worth of stuff.
Oh, right, no,
But it's
we
really
don't
not.
want to have a
We
case
don't-
where the kids have a trip, it hasn't been approved, and they can't go.
Right.
So if they try to get in as soon as possible. Now, let me just finish with the public. I saw a hand in the back.
I just
Yeah.
want to know what hospital numbers.
Steve Grant, over at Blue Place. I had a question about the safety evacuation thing. I know it's not part of the youth schedule, the schedule you're going on. I was just wondering if the times listed here all fall within the acceptable range, and if you could explain whether or not these drills are being done at like a set time, or if they're done like on someone else, so we're gonna have a fire drill today, we're not gonna tell you what time it's gonna happen, so it's more of a practical, real-world exercise. If you could speak to that.
Depends on the nature of the drill.
Sure. Fair enough.
So, for example, the town-wide emergency evacuation, I didn't even know when that was going to happen, but we knew the week that it would take place. There is a requirement in New Jersey for evacuations and also lockdowns to do one during the year in conjunction with the police, so in that case, they would be timed. Fire drills are really determined by the building principal. Has to be, there's a big change in the law in New Jersey several years ago. It used to be in New Jersey that there were only 2 fire drills per month, and now it is 1 fire drill per month and 1 drill of another nature per month. So the other natures could be lockdowns, it could be evacuations, and so on. So the state does not prescribe any time, a fire drill. I mean, that's up, I think that would be impossible to do because schools are some are large and some are very, very tiny. What we do is each of the principals will record when the drill begins and when the drill ends.
Right. Just to clarify my question, so like the students aren't advised that at 10 a.m. we're having a fire drill, but the teachers are saying we're having a fire drill today and it's going to happen sometime before they leave.
No.
So they have that practical.
I can tell you that in September, Edison School, I would alert the staff.
Right.
Because we have new staff members, and we want to make sure we have everybody is knowledgeable about the protocols. But other than that first fire drill, there's no warning.
Thank you. Jeff, you had your hand.
I just had a question. Pasta lovers in New Amsterdam, at the New Amsterdam.
I looked at the same thing.
What is that? Does anyone know?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Florida School, I'm Kelly O'Shea. I work at Florida School.
Yes.
And the 5th grade every year through the PTA, the 5th grade, their end of year trip is a play in New York City.
Oh, it's a play.
Yes, so they go to eat at Pasta Lovers.
Oh,
And the last 2 years, they've seen Aladdin, and before that, it was The Lion King. And that's their 5th grade trip.
I was going to ask. I know, I was
Some
going
of us
to.
do go, and then there are parents that go.
Okay, well, if you are looking for chaperones, I think
Absolutely.
you have plenty of volunteers.
Yes, that's the every year, end of year 5th grade trip, and it's covered completely by the PTA.
Our kids weren't there, what's that trip?
We did, well, our boys went to go see Lion King.
Did they?
Yeah. Our boys went to go see Lion King. We were the first year.
That was great, wasn't it,
Tells you
the
how
Lion
much-
King?
tells you how much my son
Fantastic.
And the last 2 years, they've been seeing the lights.
Tells you how much my
I'm not a chaperone on that one.
All right.
We have to look at the other schools.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the wife got to go, you got. Yeah, right. All right. All right, any other members of the audience, E1 through E9? Okay, could I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush? Yes. Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
And Mr. Banta?
Yes.
So good.
Okay, P1, approval of employment appointments. P2, approval of employment resignations. P3, leave of absence. P4, change of personnel assignments. P5, additional remuneration.
P6 and 7, no.
P6 and 7, no items. Okay, could I have a motion for P1 through P6?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Second, Joe.
All right, anybody, board have questions, comments about any of the items? I just want to point out one thing that Lisa pointed out to me before. P5, number 4, Victoria Velasco is a Spanish teacher, not a math teacher. What?
This particular sixth period is Spanish, but she's also math.
Oh, okay, I got you. Great, all right. Cindy?
I have a question on P5A2, with the Schedule C coaching appointments. I just wanted to ask Jim. Jim, forgive me, but did we appoint the head wrestling coach at this point in time?
Yeah, we did that, and we did most of those head coaches were appointed in June.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't skipped. Okay, thank you.
Ron?
I have two questions. One on, I guess it's under the same thing, P5-2. The fall coaching appointments, why are we getting them now? The fall season's already halfway over.
That's 2007, yeah.
Does it say?
That's 2017, 2018. I know I failed on math last time, but this time.
You got it right this time.
You got it right this time.
Yeah. So do we have an answer for that?
What are you asking?
On the Schedule C fall coaching appointments for the cross-country and the girls' tennis, why are we getting that now? It's halfway through the season.
They've just made the recommendations, so this is why you're.
But have they been coaching?
Yeah, if they started already, you're ratifying it now.
So they started already, and now we're ratifying.
If they, yes.
Can we do that?
I don't understand that. But also, I haven't seen anything about the basketball, girls' basketball. Oh, that's, all right, you moved them over, okay, I apologize. Okay, that's it.
All right, any other board members, questions? Anybody, members of the audience, questions or comments on these items? Seeing none?
I just want to add something to Ron's question. If it doesn't make the September meeting, it gets pushed to October. So if somebody's late with getting it in to administration.
I understand that, but
yeah.
if I choose as a board member not to vote for one of them, or two of them, or any of them, I'm voting for somebody that's already been working in our district that I didn't, maybe not want to. So I apologize, but I don't think that's correct. That coach should have his stuff set, unless something happens tragically or emergency or a personal thing that they gotta step down, that's different. But, I'm just stating my opinion and my feelings. So
Mike?
I just have to concur with Ron, because in looking at it, these aren't step one.
No.
These aren't step one coaches, which means they've coached.
They've coached here.
They've coached this sport before. So they should have been approved way before September.
Well, they come all in one batch, so.
Okay, I'm just saying, this is step 2, step 3, so.
Okay, I think I got the
mistake.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are we? We ready to vote? Hmm? Yeah, roll call, please.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel,
Yes.
Mrs. Piella,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes, except for abstaining on P5, number 2.
on the coaches, ball coaches.
Yeah, ball coach.
Ron is absolutely correct.
Okay. Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Is that the one I question, all part of a P5 too? That's all part
it's
of
gonna
it?
be P5 to the Schedule C.
So it's part of all of them? I'm not gonna hold everybody else up. I just want it on record, I'm not happy. I'll vote yes, but I'm not happy about that, the way that was done. Sorry.
Okay, Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. Yeah, there was 8.
I know both of them.
All right, SE1, approval of tuition transportation, SE2, approval of contact consortiums, cooperatives, programs, SE3, no items, SE4, other business. Motion for SE1 through SE4.
Second.
Questions, comments, members of the board, SE1 through SE4? Members of the audience? Yes,
I just
sir.
have a quick question on.
If you could state your name for the tape, please.
Sorry, David Tracker, 310 Allison Street. I have a question on Terry Zerkel, only because 31 years ago, he was my freshman law and education teacher at Lehigh. So I'm curious to what he's coming to talk about.
Yeah, so, first, did you like him?
Oh, yeah, it was great.
It's still good.
He's great, he's got this booming voice, you know, and, yeah.
So Dr. Zerkel is a world-renowned presenter on 504 ADA compliance, and we're having him come here to work with all our 504 teams and child study teams to make sure that we're doing everything in compliance for our students with special needs and to be ADA compliant. So he's going to walk us through the whole process, troubleshoot some questions we didn't have, and utilize that November 7th day to really work with all our teams.
Where is that taking place?
We're doing it, we're splitting it up, so during the day, he's gonna be working with the elementary and middle school teams, and then in the afternoon, he's gonna be working specifically with the high school teams. So we haven't decided a location in district yet, but we're excited for it. I've seen him present numerous times. He's very impressive, and he's one of the best I've ever seen.
I'll send you an email.
Good stuff.
I think that's great too, because 504 is the place that's teaching, I know is and that's really good. I think it's great that you're doing that.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Cindy?
Thank you, Nick, for that. Thank you.
What was the question?
Any other members of the audience? Roll call, please.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mrs. Piella,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
and Mr. Banta.
Yes. Excuse me. All right, F1, approval acceptance of gifts. F2, approval of discards. F3, approval of bills payable payroll. F4, approval of bills payable. F5, approval of board secretary report. F6, approval of board treasurer's report. F7, approval of transfers. F8, approval of state submission requirements. F9, approval of contracts, consortiums, cooperatives. Yes, we do. Keep going, keep going. Is that it, F9?
And then F10.
It's gone.
Oh, F10, okay, no items. F11, other business. Have a motion for F1 through F10.
So moved.
Second.
F11, I'm sorry. Jeff?
F8J, the
J.
resolution increasing the general fund appropriations during this school year for the implementation of mental health programs and increases in other expenses. I'm going to once again send a very strong thank you to Dr. Plestis and the administration for putting this into our school systems. You know, everyone on this board, without a doubt, believes that every child is important, and no one should fall through the cracks. And kids need help, their families need help, and for any of us who have had these things go on or know people who have had these issues, it means a lot to those people that they have somewhere to go and they have a support system. It helps our school system as a whole also. And we talk about a lot of the things that we do well. And I think that out of everything going on, the fact that we put our money where our mouths are, so to speak, where when we say every child is important, I think this is a very good demonstration of that very expression, that we believe every child is important, and here we're showing it because everyone's going to be healthy and taken care of in our school district, and we're going to find people to do it, despite what any child's issues are. So I think it's wonderful. I really do.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that, this was a team effort, but there are two components of the mental health piece. The one that you focused on really Nick brought into the district. And then Natalie was able to use some federal grants to take care of the elementary needs. And I know at some point you'll describe how they work, but you want to give a real brief distinction between the two?
Yeah, do you want me to start? Sure. All right. Thank you for bringing it up, Jeff. It really is.
The thanks is mine to you.
Well, thank you.
I kind of feel bad about asking tough questions to you guys before now, a little guilty.
It's part of the job.
All right.
So it's all good. So this is, it's unique. Like you said, these are students who often do slip through the cracks. And we know in this day and age, mental health is a sensitive subject, but a subject that should be on the forefront and should be addressed. So at the middle school, the model that we're using, Effective School Solutions, we're doing individual, group, and family counseling for students. We identify 10 of the most at-risk students in each middle school. We sit down with the child study team, the guidance counselors, the building administration, and we met with them, and we discussed the students that were concerning to us as a team, and we looked at them, and it wasn't on a first-come, first-served basis. We did not just pick it that way. We looked at students that we felt like we really need to service, and then from there, we reach out to the families and say, this is a service we would love to offer you if you give us consent to work with them. And at that point, our licensed clinical social workers, if we have permission, we sit down and we start working. We start doing individual, group, family counseling. We have the families come in, we work with their schedules after school if we have to. But we also work with the teachers and work with the staff and find out how the students are doing in the class. How can we support you as a teacher? What strategies can we give you so these students can be successful, but also so you can be successful, so you know how to deal with them. On November 7th, we were talking about Perry Zirkel doing training, but we're also training both middle schools on a presentation called The Nurtured Heart. And it's working with these students and how do we support the staff as well of working with these students in their classrooms. So we're really looking at it from every angle. It's not just, we're just providing individual, group, and family counseling. There's just so much more to it. The professional development piece. It's a great program to implement, but unless you give people the tools to work with and how to do it, it's only one piece of the puzzle. We just had a presenter at the middle school, University of Michigan football player, come and speak on depression and the battles that he had, which was great, and kudos to TJ Middle School for having that. But then they did breakout sessions right from there and went into the classrooms and broke out into small groups, and the students talked about what they just saw and reflected on it. We also had Micah Rustamano, our licensed clinical social worker at the high school, come down to Memorial and talk about mental health issues as well, and had breakout sessions, and we had clinicians there all day in case there was any fallback from any students who needed to see somebody at that time. So we're taking this very serious. I would love to say that we're going to save every child. We're going to do everything we can too.
One at a time, my friend.
That's it. That's it. So it's good stuff.
So we're using Care Plus at the elementary schools, and it's very similar in some respects to what we're doing at the middle school. So we are also offering individual counseling, group counseling, and family counseling. It's a little bit more fluid than in the middle schools. So we have a referral process that we worked on as a group of administrators along with the Care Plus clinicians. So there is a referral process in which teachers, staff members, parents can fill out a referral, and then the clinicians will work with the administration and the families, because obviously we don't meet with the children unless we have parent permission. The nice part is that Care Plus is so embedded within our community. They have lots of resources that they can also offer to families. So a big piece of it is not just what we can do to help the child in school, but also here are some resources for the family if you need additional support outside of the building. So that is the way that the process works in elementary. The other piece that I've spoken about before is that we are also putting a process in place for school clearances. So if there is a child who we believe might be a danger to himself or others, instead of sending children out to an emergency room or some other location where they might have to wait for a really long time to be seen, to be cleared to return to school, we can offer that to the families right here within district. So we think that's really beneficial for our families, family choice of what they want to do, but we can offer that right here in district and make it hopefully more comfortable in a place that's familiar to us, and do it a lot quicker to help the student that might be in crisis at that time. The other piece I want to piggyback on with Nick is, again, we on November 7th are also doing Mental Health 101 for all of our elementary staff. So we will have 4 different presentations going on throughout the district, and that's the afternoon of November 7th. So November 7th is very much a PD day where we are going to be working on 504s and then on mental health for all elementary and all middle school. So it is about training the staff so that staff is aware of signs to look for and how to help students and families in the area of mental health. And also I wanted to shout out to Mike Parada as well, who I believe worked with Mike Rossamato with his drama students. We really can't do those presentations without our students. If you all, I'm sure you've all seen those vignettes that they put on. They write the vignettes, they perform the vignettes, they depict real, applicable, authentic. They present authentic situations that face students today. And that really is a jumping off point for those breakout sessions. And students relate to it because students write them. So it's so powerful, and they train us when we have to do suicide awareness. Mike Parada, Mike Rossamato, and his students do that for us at least every 5 years, but they do it for our students at the high school and at the middle schools every year. So they just did it in Memorial. That's exactly it. Exactly. So we thank them for their support. They are critical for getting those discussions going.
Thank you. Let me know when you want to write the journal article.
Mark.
Continuing with this theme, other than the child study team and the guidance counselors at the high school, what kind of service are you providing to them for mental health? Because it seems to stop at the middle school. So is there a further service that is being offered as they get through the grades to the higher grades? So we have Care One for the elementary schools, and we have Effective School Solutions for the junior high. Is there anything that is now being offered to the high school? Because it seems to stop at the middle school.
We at the high school, kids are a lot more able to express themselves and come forward and reach out to us, and we do a lot of different individual groups. We have, we don't, it's not advertised because some of it's confidential, but we have groups that, our school psychologists work with girls, they work with children that have family issues, they work with anybody that has any kind of an issue. And what we do at the high schools, we do a lot of group activities with them in private and confidentially with the school psychologists. We have multiple opportunities throughout the year with the suicide awareness, with those activities that we do, but it's not a, I would say, you asked about guidance counselors, they're specifically on top of that. We deal with them individually and confidentially, but very much, I can tell you, we deal with mental health issues every single day at the high school.
So to piggyback on that, to answer your question, that's a great question, and I know Mike kind of just said it to me on the side as well. We've spoken about this numerous times. We've discussed it. I'm just going to go out and say it's an area where I would love to explore for next year. The reason why we decided not to explore it this year is because the team that Jim and Matt have at the high school, the beauty of it is their team that never leaves the building. They're all housed there. There's so many of them that are already licensed clinical social workers who have been doing this component right there embedded in our staff. So whereas the middle school teams, a lot of times, they also may be working in elementary school, so if there's a crisis or a student that needs it, we felt like we never wanted a student to slip through the crack, whereas Jim and Matt's team is there all the time, which is great, and they're the ones that are going out there and providing a lot of the PD for us right now, currently. But, you know, it's unique as well. At Jim's team, we have so many licensed clinical social workers on staff where you don't always see that with a Child's Day team. A lot of times you'll just see a school social worker perhaps, but we actually have many licensed clinical social workers, which is impressive. But I would love to see it grow in the future. But right now, we thought for this year to address mental health, that we thought the middle school and down, because we don't have that. And a lot of times in elementary school, we just don't even have guidance counselors in the building. So that's why, that was our rationale.
That's a good rationale. I just wanted to know.
And I'm sorry, I just want to add one more thing that I forgot, is that we are actually going to offer parent education in the area of mental health as well. We are going to have 6 sessions. Some of you that went to back to school night at the elementary schools may have filled out a survey on back to school night or at some other point in time trying to get input from the families of what topics you would like to hear. We will offer 1 at each school, but the entire town is invited to each one of those. So you will be able to go to a series of 6 throughout the school year, and more information will be coming on that. We'll get a pretty little pamphlet out for everyone. But we obviously believe that the component of educating parents is really important too, because again, we don't usually get that manual of what do I do when my child is feeling this way, or how do I react, or what signs do I look for at home. So there, we had even offered things about stress, how to de-stress yourselves and be healthier, because it's not easy being a parent. So how to take care of yourselves, which is just as important to help take care of our children. So I just wanted to mention that component.
Can I just jump in and say that there seems to be a lot of interest in this topic. I had asked previously in the evening for topics we want to talk about. Maybe this is something in the more global, where, you know, we have a presentation we could do in January or February. Just think about that, because it's an important topic, and we can do a PowerPoint.
If you want, if this is something that you have interest in, I do not mind reaching out to the people at Effective School Solutions and Care Plus and see if they want to come in and do a presentation for you of what their program entails, what it looks like, and then just, you know,
That sounds like an idea for January.
I just wanted to mention Mr. Markman. He's the SAC counselor at the high school, which is specifically a department that that is his job. That is actually his job. So
full-time.
He's full-time.
Yes.
We own him, right? Because in the beginning we didn't.
We're very lucky.
And so, I mean, I think that's besides tennis coach, but I think that's he's the relationship. That's right.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Yes, well, okay. I want to thank Flays for their donation. We've been waiting for the sign for a long time, right? Okay. And also the New York Stephen Griffiths for working to get a donation from the New York Athletic Club, and also the Radburn PTA for their donation to help with the 5th grade play.
Thank you, Mary.
Joan
Joan.
had her hand up first.
Joan Ron.
Let Joan go.
I just wanted to also ask you, because I've been reading a lot about yoga, how it's so important, and I had an article here, and that also helps with their breathing, and if they're in a problem situation, they learn how to breathe. I know we use it with the special ed students in the summertime. I don't know during the year whether they do or not, but I think it should be, you know, something.
We do lots of mindfulness with children, and so that would also play into it. So we can certainly incorporate those types of comments into the presentation as well.
Okay.
I came up with place last night in our place meeting as well, right?
Yes.
You know, just quickly, board members, when we're at convention, we have Dr. Elias as the keynote speaker. He and Natalie and I went to a program earlier in the year, but Elias is the person in New Jersey who started social problem solving and decision making, but is the #1 renowned expert in the United States about developing programs to teach students social and emotional skills. So we may want to, as a group, hear that. That's going to be the keynote, and maybe we'll send out a notice so everybody has the time. But we have interest in that too, because that's a dynamic part of what we could be doing as well in the future.
I'm just finish your board, then we'll get to the homeless. Ron.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in case everybody, on K, basically what they're trying to do is the state's trying to take away your choice of food services. And I agree that I don't think we should allow them, we should be able to pick what we want. So, just so if everybody didn't understand that.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, any other board members? Members of the audience? Esther.
Hi, I'm Esther Vera, 31-18 Gordon Place. I have a question on F9K, page 37. The top part where it reads, the Fairlawn Board of Ed has engaged staff in the community year after year to provide a local food service that addresses the needs of our children. When you say the community, is there a committee? And if so, where do you pull from? Because I haven't been asked.
So we have what's called, we call it the YAC committee. So it's a youth advisory committee, and what it's generally made up of is the stakeholders of the school. So teachers, students, administrators, PTAs, PTOs. Our food service company generally goes to the PTA meetings at least twice a year. We try to have them at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. You can certainly invite them or let them know when your PTA and PTO meetings, and they'll be happy to come and do that.
Do they listen, Brooke?
Sure, absolutely.
Because, I mean, I know the food's supposed to get better as you get older. But I've been a lunch aide at kindergarten, elementary level, and it's, the kids bring lunch from home, and I have children in the school district. I bag their lunch. I myself, as an adult, would not eat that food. So for me as a mother, to have my son, he got sick recently, school just started, so I just bagged his lunch. So it's funny that I didn't know this was on the agenda, but I asked it as a question today. Because, as a parent of a child in school, I think it's important that they have healthy meals. It forms part of their, it helps them to learn better. I'm not articulating myself, but you know what I mean.
Well, the purpose of this resolution is really, like Ron stated, what's happening right now at the Department of Agriculture is they're changing the way that we can bid our contracts for food service. So currently, the way that we put an RFP out for our food service management company is a cost reimbursement basis. What they're proposing and what's passing through legislature is to have a fixed cost, which would really take away our ability to negotiate certain items within a contract. And they're trying to make this standard. So the purpose of this motion is to really say, as a district, and this is a recommendation from school boards, School Business Administrators Association, and other state organizations professional organizations that we're a part of that are in this business, to say this is a bad idea for school districts to do that. So that's the purpose of this. In response to your question about the school lunch, we do participate in the National School Lunch Program. So what that means is we're very limited on the options that we can serve, and that we need to hit certain components. So there's 5 components of a meal that have to be made up of a whole grain, a dairy, a protein, a vegetable, or a fruit. So this is regulated by the federal government. We are audited by the federal government. So the food that we're serving is based on those standards of what the federal government has set for us. But if you'd like to have a conversation about the food service, we can certainly do that.
I do know that they have gone to meetings, PTA meetings, and if that's not happening now, we certainly take care of
For years
that.
I've not seen them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
In 3 years I haven't seen them.
Really? No, I,
They're coming to the high school November 1st. so she was ready to take them.
And they can come.
Okay, well,
They were at Memorial.
all right, so what we'll do is we will get together with Chartwells, tell them you'd like to see them, and we'll make arrangements for them to come one of your meetings, and you guys can be ready with your questions and comments, and they'll respond. They will. They have in the past. Mike?
They were just at Forest.
At Westmoreland in September.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
the one thing I'm gonna say is, this is an example of how, because it wasn't really the quality, of food, this is an example of how we go to our legislators and lobby our legislators. One of the examples of how we lobby our legislators with resolutions like this periodically. One of the ways.
So some hands in the back tonight. Emily, I think you were first.
So one follow-up on that.
I
That
can't
might be
hear
another
it.
presentation topic.
I don't hear
to present
You
on.
have to talk louder, Emily, I don't hear you, honey.
This might be another idea for a presentation topic, if there's an open monthly thematic topic to talk about food policy. I know the food policy issues came up with Monday's policy committee as well, and I think community members have lots of thoughts, not just mealtime food, but also birthday parties, concessions, fundraisers, just kind of addressing what this district can and cannot do around healthy food for our kids on school grounds. That might be a useful topic to consider. My second thing is a question. That's with the state equalization money that's coming. It looks like, as reflected on the materials here, it's much larger than was anticipated. And I'm just wondering, I'm looking specifically at page 36. So the original amount, so there was an increase of $540,000. I'm wondering, is that already built into our budget and that money has been allocated for expenses, or is that?
No, so this was, if you might recall, the state had addressed their formula for funding for school districts to try to have a more balanced formula for the different kinds of school districts, whether you're low income or high income or whatever it was. So the way that they addressed this formula, so you might remember this was in Governor Christie's state address last February, where he said we need to make a decision on this because the funding in New Jersey is not fair and the school districts are underfunded. So the way that they did that was by, after our budgets were completed, this happened, I believe, in June or July, they finally released what our amounts would be. And we had the option of appropriating it within this budget school year. So discussion took place amongst business office, administration, and the board to say, how is this money best well spent for our students? And this has been a topic that was on a couple of board meetings, including the aid in lieu payment that was increased as well. That was another last minute change from the state. So this is the increase in equalization aid, which is the first time we've ever seen this. And this is the state's way of addressing the underfunded school districts in New Jersey.
Just so I understand, it's not earmarked for capital funds or health insurance. This is money that.
This is us appropriating that money to these specific line items within the budget in those specific amounts for those specific purposes. So this is just like when we would set our budget at the beginning of the year. We vote on each individual line item and different purposes. This motion is doing exactly that. So what we're saying is we have the 540, we're appropriating it for these specific purposes into these account codes.
What are the specific purposes?
This is the mental health services.
Yeah, that's funding.
Yeah.
And health coverage.
So that's all J. And then the next part is K, which is the cost reimbursement component, which has nothing to do with that. So J starts at the beginning of a resolution to increase the general fund appropriation during the 17 school year. And our biggest component clearly is the implementation of mental health programs.
And I'm sorry, just to be super clear, the $142,000 that was the original amount, that's being used for what?
That is used to balance our budget every year, just like our state aid is. So that's a normal part of the budget component of what's revenue and what's expenditures. So that was already, when we did our 17-18 budget, that revenue was built in to balance it. Whatever we get from the state means we don't have to raise taxes. So we balance our budget based on general tax levy and the 2% cap and the state aid, which is basically our only form of revenue besides other grant, which are restricted payments. So the way the state aid works is that we're allowed to use this to balance our budgets.
And behind you, Mel.
Lisa Bogues, Everland Drive. Under F1, approval of acceptance of gifts, in August, Westmoreland PTO wrote a check to the Board of Ed for a laminator to be purchased for the school. I know the check was cashed at the end of
It might have
August.
been on the August board meeting,
Oh, okay.
because I do remember about something about a laminator, but thank you.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did, we did do that, yeah.
Wow, that was like.
We tried to.
And you got it, thank you.
All right, wait, come on. One at a time, please. Continue.
Oh, no, I was just saying, they keep asking me where the laminator is, and I don't know, but I'll find out if it is.
I'm not sure, I'd have to ask the office staff at Westmoreland who would be responsible for the purchase of that laminator using the funds.
The funds.
But I'll follow up with that.
I can do that too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I saw some more hands back somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, Steve Brand. I just had a question back to your lunch thing. You said you participated in the federal school lunch. Is that, are you required to do that, or can
Yes.
you opt out?
We
Or
could
how
opt,
do you get more options? If the federal program limits your options, how do you increase options?
well, because we participate in the National School Lunch Program, what that does allow us to have a free and reduced lunch program. So, based on the demographics of Fairlawn, if we did get away from the National School Lunch Program, which there's a state reimbursement component of that, that amount of money would need to be absolved somewhere else. So we participate in the National School Lunch Program based on the number of free and reduced children that we have in our population.
Esther?
Have we addressed page 5 yet?
Page five?
Or F5?
No, all the way to the beginning.
Well, Dr. Pelestis mentioned it early on, but we're going to get to general comments and we can talk about it again. Okay? Mel?
I have 2 questions.
Could you state your name, please?
Mel Tower, 1738 Everland Drive.
You don't even need the address, just your name.
Write me a letter, I'm all right with that. So, 2 questions. First, on J, maybe, the Care Plus stuff.
Right.
I have a question as into the numbers allocated to each school. I don't understand, is it like a per student thing? Because then that doesn't add up.
No, I mean, I can explain it. So Natalie and I, Natalie worked really, really hard changing our entire ESSA application, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, which used to be called NCLB. And the big component that Natalie wanted to hit this year was mental health services in our elementary schools. So not all of our elementary schools qualify for grant money. Not all of them qualify for how much time we could have somebody in that school district. But what we said was, this is important that we want to have it in all the elementary schools. So we've decided to be able to bring it into all 6 elementary schools using the title money and whatever that was left over, that we would use our excess state aid to appropriate specifically to those line items. And the component that Natalie spoke about, which was the referrals for mental health, that's something that's not covered by any kind of grant money. But we said it's really important, so we want to do that. So that's our other component of using that. When you see Fund 11, that's our general operating fund. So
Right.
that's why it's a little wacky, why you wouldn't be able to kind of break it down.
It's a combination of funds.
Yeah, it's a combination of-
combination of federal funds and local funds being used to support the program. And basically, the grant application, based on, again, district information of enrollment and free and reduced lunch counts and things like that, it calculates how much money is allocated to each building. Okay, so it's not like it's like this is like the counterpart to the other funds. And it just varies. Okay, all right.
Yeah, there's no straight calculation you can make based on the federal grant.
Oh, okay, I have another question.
Okay.
With the acceptance of gifts, F1A, we have a date for me? that I can plan my ribbon cutting?
Well, I would say sometime in November.
That's like so close.
I'm gonna say, I feel pretty good about the early part of November.
3 weeks.
Trick or treat.
Okay.
Thank you.
But again, there's a component where we have to ask PSE&G to do a marking. So you gotta light a PSE&G can.
What do you want from PSG? I'll have them here tomorrow. Don't worry about that.
The first digital signs is thank you, Brooke.
Yes.
Thanks, Brooke, Mel, pumpkin sales.
Okay, anyone else on F1 through F11? Just one, okay. I have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Piella.
Yes.
Mrs. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes.
Mr. Stindell.
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. We have one addendum. Usually this is later on, but we had time beforehand to go over the HIB investigations. So we're going to vote on it now. I have a motion regarding the addendum on harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigation.
Second.
Third.
Elise and Ron. I'm just going to say, all in favor?
No, I have to abstain. I have a partial abstention, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Abstain?
I have to abstain on FLHS01-2017/18.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cindy. Okay, now we come to the portion of the meeting where the public may ask questions, make comments. Bruce, I'm going to go Bruce because he's a guest.
Mr. President, once again, thank you for inviting me. I also like to congratulate you guys again for getting certified at our last meeting. It was very good. You guys worked well together. Superintendent, you should be proud.
I am.
All right?
Good crew here.
Okay, thank
See
you,
you later,
Bruce.
Bruce.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for
See
coming
you next
through.
week.
You got it.
Esther. Yes.
Sorry, I've been sitting over the hello, my name's Esther Vera.
Okay,
As most of you know, I'm PTO president at TJ.
right.
I'm here tonight to speak not only on behalf of my son, who's a sixth grade student, but on behalf of all the students at TJ. At the June meeting, I was told that the max at TJ for the enrollment was 720. At the August 21st Board of Ed meeting, we had met that at 720. Tonight is October 19th, and our enrollment number is 726, not 723, reflected on page 5 of this agenda. We have 255 sixth grade children, 235 seventh grade children, and 236 eighth grade children in our school. I wanted to ask the board if there is a New Jersey state law on enrollment based on the structural size of a building. I'm unfamiliar with these rules or regulations. I've tried to Google when I sat here, but I didn't find anything. I also wanted to ask the board if there's an enrollment cap that you can place at TJ. Will the board freeze enrollment at TJ for school year 2017 through 2018 based on these current numbers? I believe that is a safety hazard for our children in case of an emergency. Moving in between classes is overcrowded. Children, I've witnessed children tripping. There was an incident where there was a slight scuffle in the hallway between two students and a teacher was hurt because they backed up into her. It's due to overcrowding. The cafeteria, 255 students in a cafeteria. That's not, we can do better. I think we can do better for our kids. You know, it takes these my son, I can't name him because I'm also on YouTube. But I can't be there physically, so I asked him, he was complaining about lunchtime and not having enough time to eat. And I asked him to please use his watch to time himself from the time he got into the lunchroom to the line and back to his table. It was 20 minutes. And
a few of his friends also experimented for me. I did ask the faculty at school, and I was told that there's only one Chartwell's staff member on each side of the cafeterias with one point of sale machine. There's not enough room to add a second point of sale machine. Right now, the congestion is some students don't remember their numbers, and that will work itself out. But how are they supposed to eat in 10 minutes and then go out to recess? So some children are choosing not to eat. They're not telling their parents. You know, I'm just appealing to all of you to see if there's something that we can do to help TJ now. I know you're working on the referendum, and it's a big piece, right? And we're hoping that gets passed. But there are classes at TJ currently with 32 students. That's, I mean, I don't know what the mandate is. I don't know what the requirement is. You know, is there a most recent average class size in the New Jersey Department of Education report card? The one I looked up was referencing 2009, and they had a 5th grade class, they jumped to a 9th grade class, but there was nothing in between that I could read. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I will follow up with future meetings. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Any other members of the audience? Okay, thank you. Members of the board, questions, comments? Jeff?
Yeah, ma'am, I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront and speaking publicly. I thought you were both honest and eloquent, so thank you. I just want to reiterate her concerns, and I do hear you as one single vote here, not as speaking for anyone. So I'm just going to reiterate that question to our superintendent and to our administration to see if, you know, we can do better and what kind of accommodations can be done. It's in our purview now. So should there be someone getting hurt from overcrowding, it might fall on our shoulders. And I'd hate to see anyone get hurt. I really don't care about our shoulders. I care about those kids. But I think that's pretty serious, and definitely commands our attention. And I know that we could easily say this is the referendum, but it's years away, and that overcrowding's not going away. It's only going to get worse over the next couple of years, and this is a very serious issue for us. And I do think that we should absolutely have discussions over it and to see what we can do. It might take some serious creativity. I was going to almost make a joke, but it doesn't deserve a joke, to say that we should have soft borders for the middle schools. Boy, would that be fun. But you know what? It may be something, albeit uncomfortable, but I would really like to hear something soon on that. Again, and I apologize for the pressure that I'm putting on the administration with regard to this, and I don't mean to be calling anyone to the carpet on this. It's not your faults that we've had this growth. I understand that. But again, those are babies.
No, I agree. Definitely something we should look into, but I don't think moving kids from TJ to Memorial is a solution, because they're pretty crowded too, so.
Right. I meant that as kind of like a
Just good.
Yes,
All right,
just
tongue in cheek, okay. Okay, so Brooke, I see Brooke and Ernie writing furiously.
I have a follow-up question. Can we do voluntary movement where we don't, you know, we're not.
I don't know that Memorial has the room. I don't know that Memorial's pretty packed too.
Right, but
So
we're not gonna build this in 2020, right?
Yes.
That's the projected.
I have approved several requests from parents in the district to voluntarily move from one school to another. So the answer is, yes, we can. We have the authority to do that, and the procedure would be for those parents interested to write a letter or an email to me.
But
But
there's
keep in
only so
mind-
many.
And keep in mind that Memorial is experiencing similar growth. And it really is an individual, case-by-case decision in which I would have to look at class sizes.
Mark?
Yes, I'm the liaison for the Carolina Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention. I just wanted to give you the report of the meeting that I attended last evening. First, I want to give kudos to Ron Durso, who is usually our liaison to the schools. He has done a tremendous job in the past for setting up these programs with the Drug Alliance. We've had many, many different programs that the Board of Ed has not paid for and have been through grants from this alliance, and I just wanted to report on some of them. First one we had was the Robots Like Me, which was held at Milnes and also at Radburn School. There were 2 assemblies. Pardon my looking at my phone here, I can't see that well here. The 2 assemblies are going to be scheduled for February in 2018 for grades K through 3 and also for 3 through 5, covering topics on character, education, and also anti-bullying. The next one is an update on something that occurred at the middle school. TJ, I believe it was. It was called the Tower Garden. It was a movable garden that the kids were able to watch the seeds that they planted grow, and hopefully they will be able to harvest them. This gives them more connection to the actual growing and also the earth, and they take a vested interest in what they're producing there, and hopefully they'll carry that through during the summer months on their own. The other one is stigma-free report that there's a program that's going to be on depression that's going to be offered at TJ Memorial School. And there is a program that's going to be, that was offered, I'm sorry, on October 6th regarding Knockout Opiate Abuse Day. And there's another program that's called Second Step, which is being offered at Memorial Middle School. It's for 6 classes of the 7th grade, and it teaches social and emotional awareness. It teaches skills in dealing with anger management and strategies with coping with stress and conflict. And there's role playing in that. It also helps with anti-bullying and also alcohol abuse. And that's about it. So I just want to say that if there are some things that you feel that the Alliance can help with our schools, there are grants that are available to them, please get in touch with me and I will make proper contact with Carol at the health department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I don't know who was first, I was looking this way.
I have a question. I have
Okay.
a comment for something else, but I have a question.
Okay,
for Mark.
okay, then we'll get to you, I know you have a report.
Mark, are they on a website, or do they have their own website, the Alliance? Like, I mean, where do you can find all those
I think they're
dates or
on the
stuff?
municipal.
On the
I believe
municipal
they're on the
website?
municipal website,
Okay,
yes.
no, I'm just saying, so they're interesting stuff, but I wanted to know, you know.
I think so. If you cannot find them there, please contact me.
No,
I
I'll
will
contact you if
definitely find
they
out.
did, okay. I mean, I have no comment, but Joan can go first.
I was at the, Ron and Cindy and I were at the dialogue with the, student dialogue with the high school. They have changed their format a little bit, they've streamlined it, so there's less people there. It seems to be, they're gonna try it this year, it seems to work better. There's different committees, they combine committees together, so it's a little bit better. They talked about, there's 4 new bike racks that they like there. They're installing some more water filling stations that we talked about, and they're also helping the elementary decide on where they should, you know, how they can go about in doing the filling stations, right?
Right. Which is the elementary that has it now, the filtration?
It was Milnes.
Does anybody remember?
Milnes?
I thought it was Milnes.
Milnes has them, that's what I said, yeah, Milnes has them, and,
Morris Poitras asked us for help.
Okay.
So I know that they're looking into it. I know that.
Okay, thank you. They said the club fair was great, they had they have over 72 clubs there, over 800 people attended the clubs. Cindy, they're having a dance, a Halloween dance, and Cindy actually said that they should go to that alliance so that they could ask for money, because if it's a drug-free, they might be able to get grants to pay for it, because they only had $150 for the Halloween. They also talked about, they have they have education, they have incentives Each class talked about what they're doing to raise money. There was a lot of talk about raising money for that boy, Joe. That was heard, and that they're going to, instead of going to fund you, you fund me, or they say it's go fund you, they said it's easier to go through the PTA, because if they give the money directly to the PTA, it goes directly to them, rather than the 8% that GoFundMe goes with. And the other thing they said, they did talk about lunch. I asked about lunch, and Mr. Marcello says that he has talked with Mrs. Walker, is that correct? And there's an area there that they want to create a salad bar, where they can choose what kind of salad they want, and they also can have smoothies there. So they wanted to, increase lunch for the high school kids. There's a here. They said there's a tour on Saturday of the 1967 class, and they asked for volunteers, and the kids seemed so they wanted to volunteer. And that's about it. I went to the marionette puppet show that was at Lindcrest. It was amazing. It was truly amazing. It was really, the kids loved it. And they learned about how puppets, how they use the marionettes, but the kids were like just mesmerized. They thought it was great, and it taught something taught them, they were telling stories, so they learned things along the way. It wasn't just for fun, they were learning things. I also went with Dr. Blastus. I went to 2 PTOs that they were doing the referendum, and I think it's important that some of us go to those referendums, those meetings, so they know that the board is supporting this. And I went to Melons. I also went to Fleece last night, and they're doing great things. I mean, Fleece is doing really wonderful things. Special Ed is doing wonderful things, and thank you for the money that we have for the sign outside. But it was great. There's a lot of things going on. And Melons, I went to their fall festival, which was very fun for the kids. They were having a great time there.
Hard borders?
Hard borders. We had a meeting, and we said we're going to keep it at soft borders right now. And we will revisit it again. We're not changing any borders. We're going to stay with it the way we have it till it sunsets, and then we'll revisit it again.
Okay, thank you, Joan. All right. Ron was next? Oh, yeah, that's right.
I just wanted to, I stated it the other night, I wanted to reiterate everybody, we had a Buildings and Grounds meeting. Went over a bunch of things about the referendum, but one of the things that came out of it, and I want to thank Dr. Palestis and Brooke for this, because I want to raise a lot of questions about certain costs. We were having, it was on tonight, we voted for it, an independent estimator that's going to go over the entire referendum tooth and comb, so that we make sure that we're not, if we can cut it down a little bit and still get what we want. I also requested, especially with the air conditioning, to make sure we get more options. So I just wanted everybody to know that that's where we're going. So we will have somebody that is going to, we're not just going by one thing, we are going out and having somebody else independently look at it. So I think it's a great idea. It's a great
Good call.
Thanks. I don't know who was next.
Mary.
Mary.
Yes, okay. I went to the book fair at Edison School and enjoyed reading to a group of little ones, a very cute book. Several of us also went to that, and we also, a group of us, went to the Flays fundraiser at the Habit. The Habit donated 20% of what people...
There was a mix-up the last time we did a fundraiser there, so they gave us 25, I believe.
Oh, that was very nice of them. But we had fun. There were a group of administrators and a group of board members, and I dragged some neighbors. So, I really love what Flays does, and I really love being involved with the Edison School, and let me know about what's coming up for Halloween, please.
Well,
That's
thank
it.
you.
She was first.
Oh, Cindy.
Joan had said that she had been at the Memorial PTO meeting. I was also there for Dr. Palestis' referendum presentation. I thought it was really good, and I am encouraging board members to come out to the different
When are the
PTAs.
next ones?
Well, November 1st is Westmoreland's. I'm going to be in attendance at that one, so if anybody wants to join me.
Yeah, neither did I.
It was in the superintendent's update.
I didn't see it.
Oh,
Okay.
my bad then.
So tomorrow there'll be a calendar.
Thank you.
Cindy, that it?
I also need, I know are we officially doing meetings at?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll hold.
Yeah,
I'll hold.
we will.
Thank you.
Still got comments. Jeff?
I just want to follow up on the TJ thing, just had a quick idea. I know we discussed in the past about going back to houses. maybe we can do two things at once. Maybe a discussion about changing and going into houses will alleviate a lot of the passing times and the distance of passing times in the hallway, and also can work, that new schedule can work towards different lunch times. So maybe we can do two things at once. Maybe we can use the idea of going back to the houses, and at the same time using that to alleviate some of the problems at TJ. So I just wanted to throw about the administration, because I guess we're accepting ideas, I hope. So that's mine.
We always accept ideas.
Thank you.
We're looking at schedules. It's very, I support the houses. If you recall, I brought that up
Right.
a while ago. The key is, with any change that we are implementing, is to make sure that we're training our staff. So, it's my view that if we were to implement a house system at the middle schools, and it's my recommendation that we do so, that we train the staff to do that. We are working with a scheduling consultant, but it's a lot of work, and doing so mid-year would be very difficult. This will be a good year to start the training process. What is the house?
I certainly was not take we would change the houses this year.
But that would alleviate.
But for
I
next
mean,
year.
there are scheduling modes that will take an overcrowded building and suddenly make it seem so quiet. So, for example, when I was at a regional high school, and then also at another large high school, where we had block schedulings, and that's not a recommendation, I'm just giving you an example. But if you had an alternating A-B day block, that means you've cut your hallway traffic completely in half. There are other issues that come with it, including staff development and so on, but there are ways of addressing it. We have to line up the sequence and look at what solutions would appear to be best for us and work for us here in Fairlawn.
Yeah, I just want to, I'll get to you in a minute. In regard to the numbers at TJ, the number that's on the report tonight is the last official number from the database. I asked Brooke about it. From September 30th database, 2 weeks ago. I don't know exactly what happened in the past 2 weeks, but this is the number that's on the database as of November 30th, 2017. And I'm sorry Esther left. I'll talk to her about it later. But this is the number that we have to deal with right now. And there'll be a new number in October. So it's not like we don't know what the numbers are. This is from the computer. There may have been some increase in the past 2 weeks, but
We're talking about 3 students.
3 students might have moved over there for some reason.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's
just
something we can control over.
Every day kids come in and kids leave.
so so it's not like we don't know the numbers. This is right
No,
off.
I don't think she was saying that. I think she was trying to say
Well,
that the 720.
no, I don't know exactly. I mean, I understand the point she was trying to make is that it's busy over there. I mean, I don't think it means that. Okay. I don't want the public to think, oh, you guys don't know how many students are in the building. We do. Okay, Elise.
I was just, because Joan was talking about the student dialogue, how they streamline the committees, I think a question should be asked about how many kids are trying to be on those committees, if there's a downturning students that want to be involved in student government, because,
No, I think they're making the committees, but then there's subcommittees underneath it.
There's a bunch of people working
number
on
of
it, it's not
kids.
just one person.
Less
It's
come
just
to the
one
meeting.
person coming to report, but there's a bunch of people working on the committees.
it's always only been one person coming to report.
I know, but they put a couple, but the committees are big. They said, they're trying it this year to see how it works, okay? But I will ask them, but they're telling us how it will work for us.
Yeah, Ron.
Oh, can I just answer one other thing?
Yeah, sure.
What they also said, Elise, is that, like, they took buildings and grounds and cafeteria, kind of like merged them a little bit, because like the cafeteria person might not have really had anything going on for a couple months, and the buildings and grounds did, or vice versa, so they're kind of working them together, but it's still the same amount of, I understand what you're saying, but it's kids are not getting denied to be on the committee, that's what they told us.
No, my point is not that kids are getting denied, my point is that if kids want to be on the committees, if they're having a smaller pool of kids
Oh, I
to be
understand.
involved
Yeah.
with student government, so they're combining the committees because they don't have enough kids to be on the larger amount of committees, that's my question. I
Yeah, it's
just,
really not about the number of kids.
No.
It's the same number of kids, same committee. But there was like educational committee and the technology committee. When you deal now with education at the high school, you have to deal with technology, so they combine those two things. The cafeteria, buildings and grounds, they combine things that are very much related.
Okay, because a few years ago, I know there were some issues with how many kids were trying to sign up, and I just wanted to know if there was still.
And it's well-rounded, there's different age, there's sophomores, juniors, it's always much more well-rounded at this time, too.
Nick, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know that everybody's probably punching to get out of here at this point, but I would be remiss if I did not say that last week we went to Unplugged for Autism, and Jim and Matt and, you know, Michael Rustamano and Jen Gruber and the special ed students who got on stage and played with our students and sang. It was just unbelievable and just great response. 175 tickets sold.
Sold it out.
And sold out. Ron was there. It was just awesome. And in words, no matter what I say, will not do it justice. We're hoping to show some of the videos and the photos soon. We're just getting releases from the parents. But it was just an unbelievable event. And you know, Jim and Matt, you should be so proud of your staff and everything that you guys did. So thank you.
We have to give this, Michael Zamano really was the driving force behind it, and he just helped support it.
He did a great job.
Great.
And
Good
the
stuff.
kids were great, especially the guy. Is this on? Is this on? He was awesome. He was the best.
All right, Mike.
October 30th, there's a education committee meeting. It's going to involve a new course proposal, what we're doing with STEAM currently in the district and where it's going, and Learning Ally digital literacy program. We discussed teams and houses and stuff. The administration's not ready really for that presentation. It will be on another later education committee meeting, but it should occur this school year. This is a good amount of time and a good amount of subjects for this one. So I do have to apologize because I cannot make the delegate assembly meeting on on November 16th, 18th. Wait, hold on. November 18th. Ron, you're actually the alternate.
I'll go.
Are you able to go? All right.
I'll
so
move my,
that's-
if I have a class, I can move my class.
All right.
That's a Saturday, right?
Yeah, I volunteered.
It's a Saturday.
I had.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize I had volunteered to do a Boy Scout event that I already committed to.
Mike, could you just email me the info, like
Yeah.
location, time?
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
And because you're listed as the alternate, Brooke, I believe, because he's listed as the alternate, that we don't have to make another letter or anything, because I know if someone's not listed as the alternate, then they have to go with a letter that says that they're standing in. I apologize, I just
It happens.
double booked.
Okay. Meetings, I just want to announce for the public, and I put it on all the Facebook posts, and I think it's on our webpage. November 1st and 2nd, Dr. Librera will be having a community meeting at the high school to discuss the superintendent search, 7 o'clock.
We're not required to do that.
No, actually, he doesn't want us
I was
there.
gonna say, right?
November 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, he doesn't want us there.
He doesn't want the board there, he wants.
That's what he had said.
So 7 o'clock at the auditorium at the high school, November 1, November 2. It's the same meeting, just 2 different nights, so in case you can't make one, you can go to the other. So I just want to announce that.
You guys want it there?
No.
No.
No, he wants you guys,
We attended last time.
because we're very intimidating and imposing, and we might have to yell at
7
you.
p.m.?
7 p.m.
Okay, so we'll just move my early.
What's-
We'll get parents out then. Okay. That's my PTA meeting, but I'll move mine
And
early.
remember, it's two different nights, so.
Yeah, but ours is on the first Wednesday, the first.
Yeah, so the second.
They'll work it out.
Yeah.
They'll work it
I'll tell
out.
my parents to come to my
To
meeting and
attend.
hopefully push them into the.
Yes.
Take them all to the.
Right, okay.
That's what
I have faith. All right, board meetings, the next public board meeting is,
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, we got it.
yeah, okay, all
November
right.
16th.
The 16th of November.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. I didn't realize you did that, how nice.
Oh, that's my 15th anniversary.
Strategic planning, November 13th, referendum work session, November 6th, and a monthly meeting, November 16th. Are there any committee meetings? Yes, Cindy.
I'd like to schedule an athletic committee meeting on November 20th. It is the same night as the Fall Sports Awards, so I thought if we met earlier for the meeting, then we could then go to the awards afterwards.
Is that a Monday?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
So athletics co-curricular, November 20th.
November 20th.
What time?
6 o'clock, because the awards thing starts at 7. Is that okay with my committee?
Where's the award ceremony, Cindy?
It's at the high school.
So do you want to have the meeting at the high school?
I would like to have the meeting at the high school, so we're there.
Do we get a notice for the sports award?
No, we did not.
Oh, okay.
I just found out tonight because I was trying to
No,
coordinate.
that's what I was gonna say, did I miss something? Because I could
No,
check my email.
no, I was trying to coordinate with Jim, and that just seemed like a perfect fit, because I would assume that we're probably gonna be there, so if we're all gonna be there, then we might as
No
well
problem.
meet before.
Okay.
Any other committees? No.
December, we're going.
Mr. Bethel, while everyone has their calendar out, can I invite everybody to October 26th, a week from today? Bridges 2 is having their cafe.
What time?
Just do the
It's Thursday morning, but we're gonna be at school board.
That's
A lot of
school
people
board.
will be.
never mind.
No, but.
Oh, it's in the morning, no, we won't be here.
Morning?
I'll catch you all next
I
month.
think so. It's in the morning, Mel, what time?
Mel, is it in the morning?
It starts at 11:15,
October
fourth
26th,
period or
Bridges
fifth period,
Cafe.
whatever,
Oh,
like
no,
11:15.
okay, that's where-
So, how long does it go?
Oh, probably.
It's
I'll-
2 periods, so an hour,
I'm saying it's
an hour,
like,
10 minutes?
all right, so I can come down at my lunchtime.
Yeah,
All right,
and
sorry.
it's
You
just
gonna feed me?
amazing, the kids do everything. I don't.
I know, that's what I'm saying, you're gonna feed me? Let's go. I
The
wanna-
kids cook, they see you, they do
Nice.
everything, and it's really something.
All right,
to
it's
witness.
here?
No, it's in their classroom, they turn their
Oh,
classroom
okay.
into a
All right,
cafe.
all right. That's all.
Bridges 2, Doreen Yates, her room.
What time
Okay.
did you say it starts?
All right.
Bumping chairs here.
What time is it, Bruce?
11:15.
11:15?
Yeah. And they're making a corn salad and a quiche.
Okay, all right, that's it, meetings, okay, motion to recess into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.